is going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time.
Here we go.
With Jeff Booner, Lukas, and Gentry.
Whoa. Is this
what?
Right. Yeah, you like went muted. Like I couldn't hear you for like the last 15 seconds.
15 seconds?
You know, like maybe the last 10. I
Yeah.
don't know, dude. You just like all I heard was
the intro, and
all I heard was "What's up, everybody," and then you just like phased out, and it was just. I thought maybe it was just my headphones.
Yeah, I was changing my mic, making sure we're on the right one. But yeah, welcome to the show, everyone. It's Monday, July 8th. We have a packed show tomorrow. Real quick for those who are tuning in now, and are tuning in after the show's live, because I know a lot of people do that. Tomorrow we're going to have Jeremy Reisman on the show from Pride of Detroit. So tomorrow he's coming on the show. It'll be awesome. He could break down everything related to the Detroit Lions. But fellas, Klotzy's coming on a little bit. But how are we feeling tonight?
Feel like absolute dog again today. Feel good. Good day at work.
Another day being a dog, huh, Boone?
Oh, every day.
Every day.
Love being
I'm doing
great,
fellas. How are you? Chat, how we doing?
Yeah, what's going on to the people? Yeah, ETN says audio was out for a minute. It's on me. That's on me. I'll take it. Jeff Olson says, beautiful day, y'all. Baby girl turned 3 today, man. Congrats,
Happy birthday.
Jeff.
Let's go, Jeff.
Happy birthday.
That is awesome. Shout out to you and shout out to her. Happy birthday. Mike Reed is here. Streams only as well.
Can I be honest for a second?
What's going on?
Be honest.
One of these this Monday is just one of those days like we're like off season of football, and it like I like just think like usually I like this is like a victory Monday for Michigan and the Lions, so it's just like I realized today I'm like I just really want football back. I'm just being honest. Like we're like a month and a half away. We're so close. It's just I don't know how you guys feel and the people in the chat feel. It's just like these Mondays were days where like we're supposed to be like we just got done after a long weekend of watching 100 games, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like I just watched Suits all weekend, and shout out the boys that played golf with the boys this weekend, and I just didn't do anything all weekend besides work, watch Suits, and play golf. And it's like I love you boys playing golf with you boys. I love Suits. I would rather be watching like Lions football, Michigan football, and college football in the NFL all weekend than doing anything else. You know what I mean? Like I really don't care about all this stuff. It's like I'm doing things that like are like distracting my time. I don't like to do any of these things.
Time fillers.
Yeah, I hate it. It's the worst thing of all time.
That's
right,
what
glad we got that out
all
there.
doing right now.
We still will be golfing though, Boone. Once football comes around, we're just gonna squeeze it in beforehand. Might have to get out a little bit earlier, but we're still gonna get out, of course. But I know what you're saying. I don't want to wish away summer either, but like every weekend you look forward to, you want to watch football. So
it's the greatest time ever. Like I have something every weekend to look forward to. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. If anyone has anything to do, let me know. Let's do something. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather watch football.
Yeah, that's how it has come this season. It seems like you plan your whole week around the weekend. Like everything we talk about is either from the prior weekend or the upcoming weekend. So you have
Thursday night football, Monday night football, Friday college football, Wednesday MAC football. Like, sorry.
Oh, I can't wait.
So Booner, before we actually get going into regular topics, are you going to do the college football thing? Should we get the chat on board now?
I think so. I don't have the right system. The college football game comes out in a couple of weeks. I have to figure out a way to get the right system. If I get the right system in time, I will stream. I will do like a YouTube stream. I don't know if I can stream games on YouTube. I will stream games on YouTube and do like a full. We'll do an interactive thing with the chat. Like they'll help me pick the college football program. We'll do it all. You got
to put it up to a vote, Booner. You got to go on a tour, Booner tour. Then whatever college recruits you, taking it over.
I'll need help getting everything set up. I have a little studio somewhere. I'm going to be getting some stuff set up, so I'll just do it there.
I can't wait. It comes out next Friday. So,
that's coming up.
Yeah,
I got to get things going.
July 19th is the official release date. I can't wait. I'm going to be a little Ben Johnson, be a little offensive coordinator somewhere. So that'll the boys at least will have something, to keep us at least in the free time. Not that we have much of it, but hey, we get a little bit.
I might have to have some of you guys come over and join the stream when we're doing the stream, so I can have some guests on.
LFG says Jeff was shouted out in today's morning show. Well, shout out to those guys. I did not know that. But shout out to those guys as well. I see ETN. I'm buying the game. Not gonna lie. Yeah, everyone should buy that game. I'm buying it. I don't have it pre-ordered, but I don't really pre-order games, but I almost pre-ordered that game. But I'm not. I'm just gonna wait and get it when it comes out. I'm not in a rush.
Go.
We'll get you taken care of, Booner. I want to make sure Booner can stream that game. I want to see Coach Boone. That would be.
I'll definitely get some things going for that. As long as the people in the chat want to watch it, I'll do it.
Any hints on where you're going to be committing to, Booner?
It's going to be a high major school. It's got to be a high major. High major.
Wow. Sure. You're not taking that underdog to the promised land?
I don't know. Maybe I'll get fired and then I'll have to work my way back up. Who knows? Maybe like a Lane Kiffin type of route.
Oh, fair. Not the Lane Kiffin. The Lane Kiffin type of route. I like that. Well, just to also mention too, Pistons got busy over the weekend. They signed Malik Beasley to a 1-year deal.
Whoa!
Yeah, Malik Beasley. They brought him in, and he signs officially with a 1-year, $6 million plus deal, probably with incentives. Not exactly sure there, with the Detroit Pistons. And guys, I will give Trajan Langdon this, fellas. He's constructing a roster the way it should be constructed. You add shooting, which we'll get into. A StatMuse put out something. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley combined made threes last year more than the entire Pistons. The top 4 shot makers on the team from 3.
That's big.
So, top 4 making threes versus those two shot and made more. So.
I did text you guys randomly throughout the weekend because I was just thinking about it like a couple hours after Malik Beasley signed with the Pistons. Like you look at the players, Beasley, Tobias, Tim Hardaway, like those are like legit dudes that can shoot the rock. And I know we were a little upset on the draft night, like they didn't get a guy that can shoot that well. And you're like, oh, why did they do that? Like now Trajan Langdon had a sort of like a plan in his mind, knowing like, hey, I'm gonna go out there and get some sort of shooters, not just shooters, guys that can defend and like do all of that. And then I text you guys, and I was like, I do like it feels like Trajan Langdon has already put together a better roster in less than a month than Troy Weaver did in like 4 years. And then I mean that with all due respect. Like that's just the feeling I get because when you look at the lineup, like Troy was always constantly trying to just say, hey, we're pushing to next year. Maybe it wasn't his fault. Maybe it was. But he was like, we're pushing. Keep young. Stay young. Trajan Langdon was like, no, I'm going to go get Malik Beasley, who's been playing on contending teams the last 3 or 4 years. Tim Hardaway, who's been on contending teams. Tobias Harris, who's been on contending teams. I just wrote the lineup here. Cade, Beasley, Tim Hardaway, Tobias Duran, and then you got Ivy, Asar, Fettuccine Alfredo, Ron Holland, Beef Stew, Marcus Sasser. Like you actually like have a lineup that's like probably a little bit of respected within the NBA. Like, yeah, they're probably going to still be the 10th, 11th seed or like, finish in the standings. But like now you can respect a lineup now. Troy Weaver went 4 years with just putting rookies constantly out there and never even like he brought in the worst veterans in free agency just trying to tank, whether it was him or not. Like I think right away already Trajan's like giving you something.
No, I mean, obviously you got spacing with a ton of the guys you did get, and the Malik Beasley contract, like I mean, that's a steal. What was it, 6 million or 8 million? I'm sorry,
6 million plus.
That's a steal. I kind of was looking at that contract, like maybe you could have gave him some extra years on that thing, but no, Trajan's done a really good job at not really going and just getting best player available. He's been getting fit. He's been getting spacing on the floor for Cade. So I love it. And honestly, that Malik Beasley signing is probably my favorite of all of them thus far. I really like it.
I mean, Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, all of them are 36% or more from 3 in their career. So good shooters. And Troy Weaver cannot construct a roster. But what I will say about Troy, that the cap available, like Trajan, although the Pistons aren't great, they're actually terrible. He walked into a situation with money. I mean, he has
sure.
money to spend. So at least, and he's spending it correctly. Thank goodness. And I have no issue with
a 1-year deal. a 2-year deal, and he took on a 1 year with Tim Hardaway. Like, it's short term, and I know he did come in with money. So shout out to Troy for fixing the books and doing all of that.
That's the one thing he did do. A couple. Yeah, that's it.
He did that well, but what you should do during that is probably construct a reasonable roster, and he just was never able to find a way to. And there was ways to do it, he just never did. And like Trajan's showing that, hey, you can do it whilst keeping money on the books, moving things around, and doing it the way he does. Like I think he's done it in a very smart way. And you still has $21 million left in cap. Like, it's not over yet. He still has money to spend, like over $20 million if he wants to take on a contract. If he wants to go after guys, like, he can do it. Like, he can go after. Like, I've seen a lot of different opportunities of guys that are still available, or guys who want to be traded that are on a 1-year deal. And I think he's going to still make some moves. Like, I like
think he needs to.
Yeah,
I mean, you got like 3-and-D guys. You finally got some wings, but now you still have no big men, and like you have Jalen Duren starting. Hopefully, and then who do you have behind him that's, a reliable big guy? Because Jalen Duren's defense was weak as hell for most part of the season last year. And, we obviously hope that improves, but you still need a veteran big guy out there. And that's what I advise they do with this extra cap space, or if they're going to move on from someone, they need a veteran big man in there. And there was a few in free agency, and, obviously those deals didn't get done, like a Hartenstein or, even Andre Drummond would have been not a bad fit off the bench, but
I agree with that. I think a backup big should be something they add. Just another shot blocker. Isaiah Stewart, more of a small. You use him in small ball 5, but he's not a shot blocker, man. I mean, he's like a situational big. Maybe use him a little at the 4, but I wanted like a Nick Claxton, but he's already re-signed. But someone of that mold that can come in and give you shot blocking. They don't really have that. Jalen Duren was disappointing as a rim defender. And I know LFG said I thought Duren was supposed to be a rim defender. That is something with his athleticism and his size, but he just has not been able to. And that's partially effort too, but he just hasn't really put it together yet.
I will say though, like, it might not, and I might be crazy for thinking this. Like, I do think they should get another backup big, like someone who can protect the rim. To a point, though, in today's NBA is as big of a need as you think. Like, look at what the Knicks did. They got rid of Hartenstein because they felt like they might not have needed. Like, they could play small ball. Like, they can move on, and they could throw Julius Randle at the 5 and play a little smaller. Like, maybe that's Trajan's. If he doesn't add another big, like, maybe that's his mindset. Is for the last. I don't know about you guys in Detroit. Troy Weaver loved to collect five like centers.
Oh yeah,
like,
he loved bigs.
It. He loved bringing in bigs. So maybe like Trajan's like, hey, this is welcome to the new NBA, Detroit fans. Like, we really don't need all of these guys. We don't need James Wiseman, Jalen Duren. Like, we don't Marvin Bagley. We don't need all of these guys. So maybe that's like the mindset that he has. And maybe I still wouldn't mind if they brought in someone, but that's my first thought is just that's his mindset.
I mean, that if he's like going into that season when the Pistons were one of the worst defensive teams last year and terrible around the rim, if he's not at least trying to improve that with the cap space, then I don't know. That would be probably my first bad move that I, jot down for Trajan, because that definitely needs to be addressed. You cannot go
maybe he makes a trade.
Worst defensive team, and you cannot have Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart as your lone 2 big men. It will not end up well.
Should have brought in Jonas Valanciunas.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah. I mean, even the guys that aren't really signed, there's not too many good players that are signed. I mean, even Andre Drummond, you mentioned he was already signed. James Wiseman was signed to Indy.
They had a shot at all those guys, but obviously you don't want to bring Wiseman back, but
no, but he was signed.
I'm sure they'll trade for a big. That's my guess. They're going to trade for like a vet big that a team's looking to get rid of a contract.
But like who? I mean, all the fits are out there for free agency, and there was a few centers you could have went and got out. I mean, like Jeff said, Claxton, Hartenstein, like
but it's like different with the trade market and the free agency. Like free agency, you have to convince people to come to Detroit. I think it was pretty well known. No one wanted to come play in Detroit besides Tobias Harris. Like that's where I think the problem went. So I think like if you're like, all right, we need to add a big. You have to trade like you traded for Tim Hardaway. Like you're gonna have to go. Like I know Brook Lopez is there. The Bucks are looking to get rid of his cap. Like maybe you have to trade for a 1-year deal or 2-year deal, whatever he has left. Like that, I just think that's the way you're gonna have to go about it, especially with no one left. So I don't know who's available and what bigs are looking to. Teams are looking to dump contracts, but I would if I had to bet my money, I would put it. I would put it on by the time September rolls around, the Pistons have traded for a center.
Are they getting rid of Stu to get that center?
I would. I wrote down my lineup here. I wrote on my depth chart, and I highlighted 3 guys for a trade: Beef, Stu, Jay Navi, and Jalen Duren.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
Let's look at some packages. That's my mindset. How about we look at some packages here?
I'm a little indifferent when it comes to Jalen Duren. I like Jalen Duren. I mean, I understand if you're trying to get a big piece, you maybe include Ivy in that package. So I kind of understand him being there, but I like Jalen Duren. I wouldn't trade him.
Are you saying he's untouchable? Because that was my mindset. Was like I highlighted the guys who aren't untouchable.
I mean, but like, what are you getting for him? You know, like,
yeah,
that's what I'd probably have to know. It would have to be very good. And even then, it's like you're not getting Duren for that said player. You'd have to include assets, which the Pistons don't necessarily have. The Knicks own their first round pick. So it's like a tough situation. I'd have to see who they're getting, and it'd have to be a damn good upgrade.
I just think, like,
I wouldn't mind holding on to Duren just because he still is so young and he's shown some flashes offensively, you know, running down the court. So it's just really defensively. And I think, you know, when you're that young and you're that, you know, you're a big man, it's going to take some time adjusting to the NBA. So he's still 21 years old. So
yeah,
I'm not giving up on Duren. That would be the one that I would be more hesitant to keep out of Ivy and Stu. I think those two are kind of the guys that Ivy, I think you still probably will give him some time to see if that Cade fit works under the new regime. But I think Stu's got to be traded. That's probably the one.
Yeah. I want to know too. I'm not a trade Duren guy. When I'm looking at the roster, like Cade, no, you just signed Beasley. Tim Hardaway, it's a 1-year deal. You're not trading him unless it's the deadline. Same with Tobias. Asar, he's only a rookie, so like I'm sticking with them. Like I'm just looking at the roster. There's 3 guys there who have been here for a couple years, and I just like, all right, if you were to trade players, those have to be the 3 guys that are on the block. Not on the block, but like we're willing to take offers for. Like if I had to choose, I think Ivy and Beef, you know, Isaiah Stewart are the 2 that I would be able to move on with. I'd rather because like you said, Gentry, Duren's 20 years old. Like and he's like just such a raw player that I think you do have to kind of stick that one out.
Yeah, I mean Jalen Duren last year. I mean, I just looked really quickly. He was 5th in rebounds per game and 6th in field goal percentage. So like he did just defensively, that's like the big thing. Like offensively, he showed. I mean, he averaged a double for about 14 and almost 12. But yeah, like you guys said, like the shot block, he should have at least 2 blocks a game. He's or 1.5 to 2 blocks a game. I don't think he even cleared a block last year. So
defensive adjustment, you can always learn defense. That's the thing. Like we talked about it with shooting last week when the draft. Like that, I say that all the time. Like I've been basketball my whole life. It's hard to teach a shot. I could go out on the court right now and teach someone defense. If you gave me 5 guys to put on the floor, and we're about to have a game in 2 hours, I could teach them defense to be able to lock up. I could teach a 5-man, hey, this is where you need to be. This is what you need to do. And I can go at them and go at them and go at them. So like Duren can learn that. So I think like his skill set, all right, it's there. It's like getting him in the room or in a gym with someone who actually knows defense and wants to teach it, which I think that can happen. I think that can happen.
And I think obviously if they brought in a veteran big man, you know, to come off the bench and for him to learn and, you know, go against in practice, not going against, you know, other young rookie to, you know, 2 to 3 year players in practice, it might help out. Like,
think about the 2 bigs that he's been with. Bagley.
Yeah, I know. If you go into this season without another big man, I'm going to be disappointed. That's what
like his whole
he's still
career.
got time, but you have to get another big man.
They should sign a veteran.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love for like a legit good vet to come in and just work with him.
Yeah, they need like someone to, because they signed Taj to like a 10-day contract, and you know, Taj, his presence is like a leader in the locker. They just need someone that can help Duren, kind of coach Duren. Just someone that can be like, what are you doing? You know,
I think him being with Team USA is good too.
Yeah, I mean, you see that clip of him on defense. It
was tough, but I think that's like him learning.
I didn't see a defense one. I've seen him.
He's got the ability. He's 6'11". He's got the wingspan, the athleticism. Like he has the tools. It's just effort. I mean, that's what Michael says. Booner's going to take a sip out of his Kobe Gatorade bottle and put up 30 a game in the summer league.
I almost took a sip out of it when we were playing Fortnite as a crew the other night. I looked at it. I was looking at it. I think I need some. I need
Booner,
some
I
juice.
forgot I had that trophy case for it.
Oh, you got a trophy case for it?
I showed it to Jeff. I forgot to give it to you.
Here we go.
It lights up everything. We're putting it in there.
I see JaVale McGee.
JaVale, bring JaVale home. JaVale, he'll teach him. He'll teach him. JaVale was a dog.
McGee, man. Great dude. And then Bon J says, who was the Piston? Nobody that went for 50 last year. I really don't watch basketball. Sorry.
Wasn't that Molasses?
That was Malachi Flynn.
Jeff's
Molasses Flynn.
Molasses. Yeah. I got a 50 ball and got cut. I mean, that's.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yep. At least I think he's cut. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Jeff, what do you think they did trade?
Oh, he isn't cut, actually. Still, I think he's
probably a G League.
I mean, he's not going to be on the roster. But it doesn't necessarily have to be Clint Capella. But, Jeff, what do you think they traded for a Clint Capella-esque, big man? One of those guys that is going to get paid a little bit more, but, you know what they're going to bring.
Here's a little fact for you. I just saw a report earlier today that the New Orleans Pelicans tried trading Ingram to the Hawks, and they wanted Capella, and Atlanta said no because they don't want to pay Ingram. So just to give you like a kind of a comparison, if you want to trade for Clint Capella, I think you're probably going to have to give them something.
By the way,
just saying like a Clint Capella-esque center, it's one of those guys that probably will go for more money. But, they are younger, and what they're going to bring defensively and offensively.
But by the way, real quick, I want to throw this out there. My theory for the Pistons a couple weeks ago, and talking about sign some vets and trade for Brandon Ingram. I don't know if the Pistons are in any conversation for Brandon Ingram at all. If they were, and they somehow pull off a Brandon Ingram trade, say you get rid of Beef Stew or Jane Ivey, one of the two, and some. I know you said the first round pick. If there's a way you can do that. Now you have Cade Cunningham, Brandon Ingram, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway, Tobias, Jalen Duren. I like that a couple weeks ago, like that was my roster. That hey, this roster can get turned around very quick because to our point, Jeff, Cade is a legit talented player in the league. He just has nothing around him. Those are all guys who have been on playoff teams and productive players on playoff teams. Like that's a respectable roster. Like if you add Brandon Ingram to this lineup right now we're talking about something that people are going to start talking about. You're that one piece away now.
Before I let Jeff go, as much as I would love that, I think the whole Brandon Ingram thing went out the window once you signed Tobias Harris, obviously, and then I don't think they're going to double down. But I would be in favor for it. That'd be an exciting team to watch. But Jeff, go on.
Here's the thing, okay? Trajan Langdon. He was with the Pelicans before he came to the Pistons. So if there's a man that knows Brandon Ingram more than most GMs, it's him. And they had money. They still have some money, but not I don't know about enough to give that man what he wants. But I will say this: if you haven't seen a report that the Pistons are interested, which there isn't one out there, shouldn't that tell you something?
You didn't see reports that they wanted to draft Ron Holland. They said they purposely kept quiet from that. He's a good GM. He's like Brad Holmes. He stays quiet. There are no leaks right now in that Pistons war room. Zero.
Okay, but
there ain't shit going on in there.
If Trajan isn't interested in Brandon Ingram,
can't leak shit. There's nothing going on, dude.
You would have to at least be like, okay, this guy knows Brandon.
How many reports did you see the Pistons were interested in Malik Beasley?
Dude, Malik Beasley is not Brandon Ingram.
I'm just asking. You're not going to see
Woj tweet out, Malik Beasley has some offers on the table. He's currently mulling them.
I've probably seen it.
No one cares about Malik Beasley, dude.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Brandon Ingram, that's he's been getting reported on a lot. They've been following him a lot. Teams that are interested. Like I like the not the Falcons, the Hawks report. I just said that they were like, nah, I'm good. They didn't want to pay him because he wants about 50. He wants about 50 million. That's what he's asking for. It is a lot of money it is a lot of money. So if Trajan, if he feels like it's the move, then I think we'd be like, okay, well, Trajan knows the guy enough, he would think it would be the right move. But if he doesn't, that should tell you something. That should tell you something. Maybe a little about Brandon Ingram. But what's up, Mike?
I was gonna say I could be wrong, but I thought I did hear some rumblings about them signing Malik before it did happen. I could be wrong.
Oh, that's on me.
Oh, my.
That's on both of us, Jeff, because you just said no one's talking about Malik Beasley. Sounds like some people were.
Well, that would actually kind of make my point that it was being reported on, right? And then he did it.
No, we're both wrong. We're both wrong here. You were like, no one's going to talk about Malik Beasley, and I said no one saw anything about it.
Well, my point was, if you see a report, it's not 100% true, but
it's fair.
It's like Mike just said, he saw the Malik Beasley report. Okay, where's your Brandon Ingram report? Like I haven't seen anything on the Pistons. Who knows? Trajan might be like from deep. Woo, go get him.
Ron Holland. No one knew Ron Holland.
Jeff, if you have to give up Ivy and Stu to get Brandon Ingram, are you doing
Probably Ivy and because again they're kind of strapped for picks, so that's the other tough part too.
Are you doing it though, and are you okay with it?
I don't know, man. $50 million's a lot. And I like Brandon Ingram, but he's not. He's probably if on a championship team, if not even a championship, but if we're trying to be good, he's probably a good.
Who else are you going to pay $50 million over these next God knows how many years besides Cade?
You have to weigh out like desperation versus like being smart. Like, do you think Brandon Ingram being the highest paid player on your team for the future is the smart thing to do?
I mean, it wouldn't have to be like for the future, but Fred VanVleet's the highest paid player on the Rockets.
Yeah,
and he's a veteran that's been, helping those young guys out. And you only have him for a certain amount of years, and then he's off.
No, but Fred VanVleet signed a 2-year deal. I think he wants a full max contract.
So if it's a 2, Jeff, you're starting to get my feeling of when I was having that conversation about Tobias, where I was like, I don't know about paying him that much money for that many years. The 2 years is good. If they bring Brandon Ingram for 2 years and they somehow do a 2-year deal,
no, it's not. He wants a max, dude.
All right, then I'm out.
He wants that's what he wants. He's not going to be like, I'll take a 2-year deal. Like he wants to get paid, rightfully so, though. I mean, look at it from his perspective. Like I'm Brandon Ingram, I want to get paid. Tobias is at a different point in his career. He's like 32, 31.
Yeah. But that was my feeling towards the Tobias thing. It was if he asked for
Brandon Ingram's like 26 or like 27, like in the prime of his career.
Which, like, if you're cool
with the bag,
I guess you could look at like a Cade Cunningham, Brandon Ingram 1-2 punch. Cade and Brandon Ingram, and then hopefully maybe Ron Holland turns into something, and now you have like a legit and you have Tobias and Tim Hardaway as your kind of role players, and Duren is your 5. Like that's like again, that's not a bad roster. Is that worth having that roster for the next 2 years, and you have to pay him $50 million? And maybe that's worth it because now you're competitive actually, and you can add pieces and young pieces and trade. Like I don't actually hate the idea of it now that I'm talking myself into it. I'm talking myself.
I'm not saying it. If you think he's worth that money, then then there you go. I'm a little hesitant on that because like you're not trading it. You're not going to be able to trade him. There's no way someone's going to take on that contract. Like you're keeping him for 4 or 5 years. That's he's on the roster. He's a good player.
Think that would ideally line up to like when your young guys Asor and Holland are fully peaked. And they are proven players at that point in time. So it might fit the timeline,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Well, we're talking about young, pretty good players. What about a young, potentially superstar running back in the NFL, Jahmyr Gibbs? And I love these lists. They come out in the offseason. NFL executives, scouts, and coaches, they always do this. They poll them all, and they interview these guys. They do like best head coaches. They did top running backs. And I don't know how I feel about this list, but let's check it out. All right. We put it out on our Twitter at official CT pod. And here's the list. It was Jeremy Fowler that originally reported on it from ESPN. And Jahmyr Gibbs was 8th on the list. So you have Christian McCaffrey, number 1. Number 2, Breece Hall. Number 3, Nick Chubb. Number 4, Saquon Barkley. Number 5, Jonathan Taylor. 6, Bijan Robinson. 7, Josh Jacobs. 8, Jahmyr Gibbs. 9, Derrick Henry. And 10, Travis Etienne Jr.
There's a player missing off that list, by the way. Shout out Klotzy. Kyron Williams off the list.
Ooh, I didn't even notice that.
Wow. This is the list. Klotzy's narrative.
And the question is, do you think Gibbs should be higher on this list? And if so, where? And this is again pulled. This isn't just a fan list. This is pulled by NFL executive scouts and coaches. So these are guys that are involved in the NFL. and they get a little different. That doesn't mean they're 100% correct, but they definitely have an opinion worth listening to. But what do you guys make of this?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I like Breece Hall as a running back, but putting him as the second best running back already is just I don't agree with that. But I would think Jahmyr Gibbs would at least be. I think you shuffle around, Breece Hall in that top 5 a little bit. I think you move Jonathan Taylor up, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs is minimum 6 at this list, no matter which way you put it.
Yeah, my first thoughts is Jahmyr Gibbs over Josh Jacobs. I think that year, the Josh Jacobs year of him leading the NFL in rushing, I think that like tainted a lot of people of thinking that, hey, like he's a dude, but he did that for a year. And I'm a Josh Jacobs. I like Josh Jacobs. I think he's a very fine running back, but I don't know if he's above. Like, I would rather, if right now, if all of these GMs, executives, and scouts and coaches all right now had no running back room and they were like had to start fresh. Hey, are you picking between Josh Jacobs and Jahmyr Gibbs? I think every single one of them would go Jahmyr Gibbs. So I don't understand how he is above Jahmyr Gibbs, but I would probably flop that. On top of that, I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson as well. I think, like, and Jeff, you remember the narrative not the narrative, but the conversation me and you had early in the season. And I brought it to you guys while you guys were on the morning show that I was like, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is already better than Bijan. And we all got in a debate on whether or not like it was true. And then as the year started going on, you start to see the stats get closer and closer. And Gibbs sharing a backfield with David Montgomery. I know the situation Bijan was in, but sharing a backfield with another top 15 running back, and Gibbs was he had more yards per carry than him. I think he didn't have more total yards, but he was like 100 off. He had more touchdowns. And then obviously he does what he did in the playoffs. And you like when you're putting up performances in the playoffs and someone's at home, I know it's tough being on a certain team, but that was like how I won that argument. I felt like earlier in the year was you can't knock Jahmyr Gibbs for being in a better situation. He's taken advantage of that. So I think you have to give Jahmyr Gibbs the nod on that over Bijan. Like this year, maybe Bijan jumps him because now he has a new coach and, he has Kirk Cousins now and his situation's a little bit better. But I would probably, I see the Breece Hall thing. Like I know Klotzy's big on Breece Hall, like his potential and his ceiling. And he did have a pretty big year for coming off an injury as well. So I do get him being in the top 5. So I'd probably go Jahmyr Gibbs 5 or 6. That's what I would do. I think he's a top 5. Like he's right there on the top 5.
I think Breece Hall is a great running back and he has potential to be up there. I just don't think as of yet he's up there. I think he's right outside of the top 5, probably looking in. And I think he has, obviously a chance to move up there given this year where he has a full quarterback and the offense is actually flowing right. But I just wouldn't put him at 2 just yet. But I am really high on Breece Hall as well.
Yeah, when I look at this list, there's a couple things that I disagree with. I would say I would put Saquon at 2, personally. I would swap Saquon and Breece Hall. I would leave Nick Chubb because I know Nick Chubb just blew his knee, just completely got, wrecked. And there's a question mark of what he's going to look like when he comes back. I understand that, but let's not forget who Nick Chubb has been. Like what we've seen of him in his career, I think he'll be fine. And I don't really want to change that based on projection. Like, oh, I just think Nick Chubb's going to stink now. Like I haven't seen it. So at this point, I know Nick Chubb is who he is. And I think he's one of the best backs in the league. So I would probably swap Saquon and Breece, put Breece at 4, even though Breece is really good, but I think Saquon's the second best back in the league, in my opinion. And then I'd leave Jonathan Taylor there. And now this is where it gets a little tricky because you have Bijan, Josh Jacobs, and Jahmyr. I don't hate it. If you want to swap Jahmyr and Bijan, go ahead. I think 6, like Mike said, I think that's fair. I don't hate that at all. Josh Jacobs, he had a really good year, but in totality, I think you give Jahmyr that stretch of time he's had. I think he can put up better numbers. I don't know about leading the league in rushing given the situation, but he'll be in general total yards through the stretch that Josh Jacobs has had his career. I think Jahmyr could easily out, and he's a better player in my opinion, more talented. So I'd give him over Josh Jacobs. Bijan's a little tricky. I know we had that argument. I think it's close. I do. I think I get your point about not factoring in the situation. Like it's not his fault, and I understand that. I'm not mad at it at all. So
I think Jahmyr had a better year.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Just based off, he had less carries. He was productive with that. You know, I'm a little different than you with situation. I look at situation when I compare players, and that's not just running backs; it's quarterbacks, wide receivers. You know, like a wide receiver is underproductive with a bad quarterback. Like we do this with Devontae Adams. Remember, I always tick up for Devontae because I look at a situation and I'm like, dude, this quarterback's Aiden O'Connell. Like I do that with all players, so that's why I'm still high on Bijan. I would give them. It doesn't really matter. I would give Jahmyr a slight edge just based on the situation he's in. I guess that's completely fair. But after it, to be honest, I don't disagree. Derrick Henry at 9, 10 though. This is where it gets a little disrespectful to me that Kyren Williams isn't on this list. Kyren Williams is better back than Travis Etienne. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Kyren Williams is a top 10 running back in this league. I think you can argue he's a little higher, but just to put him in the top 10, you have to do that. I mean, Travis Etienne had a terrible year. Like 3.8 yards per carry, and Kyren had more yards in less games. So
can I?
Yeah,
I will say this too. I want to go back to this because I know both of you said like Breece Hall at 2. Now that I'm looking at like Breece Hall coming off an ACL injury, guys, 1,600 all-purpose yards, which I believe was 4th in the NFL total. He had the 4th most total. He had the 4th most all-purpose yards in the NFL last year, which you don't really realize because the Jets were just bad. I think this year, like him, I think like Breece Hall, I think you could say top 3. Like if you want to throw Saquon at 2, but I think you have to keep Breece Hall at 3. That's where like I'm at that. Like now that I'm looking at it and looking at what he did last year, he played 17 games. But if you guys don't remember, and I could double check his game logs here, but he was splitting carries, I believe, to start the year. Yeah, this is his first 4 games. 10 carries, 4 carries, 12 carries, and 6 carries. And then after that, things just took off, and he just started going out there dominating and ended up with the 4th most yards in the NFL, like in 1,600 all-purpose yards. Like that's an insane to coming off an ACL with the offensive line that they had last year and no quarterback to get 1,600 all-purpose yards, 9 touchdowns off an ACL injury. I respect that. I think Klotzy's really big on. I'm pretty sure he's like super big on Breece Hall. And I might be right there with him. I'm like,
I'm high on him, but it's hard when Nick Chubb has had 300 carries, I think almost twice in his career, and he's never been under 5 yards per carry. Like he is.
Yeah, that's nuts. But coming off the injury, like again, you're going into this year. Like, show me. Like, I think I would rather have if I'm like drafting in fantasy or something. Give me Breece Hall over Nick Chubb coming off that injury. Like his leg exploded. Like he had a terrible injury. I feel bad for what happened, but like it's a tough injury to come back for. Like I hope he comes back well. If it's
fantasy football, I think you would take Breece Hall just because he catches the ball and Nick Chubb doesn't as much.
But I'm just saying, like,
Breece Hall and Bijan, both of them are going to be much better this year because their situations will be much better. Like Jeff alluded to, they both have quarterbacks now, so it's going to be interesting to see how their year actually pans out, how much better they do, and obviously now that they do have quarterbacks in Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I don't hate and I like Breece. I think Breece is very, very talented. I mean, Iowa State, he was an absolute monster. I understand that. I don't hate it. I would put him at 4, but if you want to put him at 3, have a spot above him, cool. I've always been a big fan of Nick Chubb. That's why I leave him there. I get that. But with modern medicine, we've seen more guys come back from ACL injuries. So it's like, I mean, Adrian Peterson, didn't he tear his ACL and then he broke the record? He ran for like 2K or didn't? I don't know. If
he could come back like Breece Hall again. Breece Hall's tore his ACL and came back and had 1,600 all-purpose yards. So Nick Chubb can do the same thing. I'm just like looking at it, the age of him. Like say like again, it's the same example I use with Josh Jacobs and Jahmyr Gibbs. If my backfield was empty right now and those two were sitting in free agency and both wanted to sign with my football team, am I taking Breece Hall or Nick Chubb for a 4 or 3 year contract? Give me Breece Hall. Like he's younger, he has a higher ceiling, a better talent. He can catch out of the backfield. He does a lot more than what Nick Chubb's. He's a dog, but I'm taking the Breece Hall for sure.
What do you think about this, Lucas? Just this list, and then you can get to where Jahmyr's ranked. What do you hate about it first?
What do I hate about it? And it's not saying that it's bad, but I hate how they have Nick Chubb at 3 and Derrick Henry at 9. It doesn't make sense to me because when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, so when I'm looking at him like Bijan, and then you look at Jahmyr, and then you look, okay, they split backfields. I can see him being at 6 and 8. But Derrick Henry, coming off a healthy season, going to the number 1 rushing team in the NFL, you can book Derrick Henry for 12 touchdowns and probably 1,100 yards off the floor compared to Nick Chubb, who's not going to be in as good of a situation. I know we're talking about coming off an ACL, but this is now going to be his second ACL injury on the same knee. So I don't know, man. I think Nick Chubb should be 5-6 area, but I get the respect going to him and put it here at the beginning of the season. Nick Chubb at 3. I just don't think this list looks anything like this outside of 1 and 2 by the end of the year. I think C-Mac and Breece Hall will be 1 and 2 this year without a doubt.
See, you're coming along on my King Henry thing. I like that, Klotzy.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't think Derrick Henry's King Henry anymore.
Whoa.
But when you look at what he was able to do last year in Tennessee, and then you just look at the quarterback play that he's had around him for pretty much his whole career. Now he's going to play with Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore run offense. I mean, it's going to be tough to stop. It's a defensive end, linebacker, and safety's worst nightmare. You don't know who's going to have the ball between Lamar and Derrick Henry. And by the time that Derrick Henry has the ball, he's 3 yards upfield, and now you got to try to tackle him with a full head of steam. So it's going to be a nightmare. But I do think Nick Chubb's going to be good, but I don't think he's above some of the guys that he has right now following this injury.
By the way, Klotzy, Kyren Williams off the list.
Yeah. See, and that's where it's one of those things where, and I saw Etienne in the chat where he said, if Kyren Williams was a first-round running back, he'd be guaranteed on this list. And that goes back to, okay, well, why are they a first-round running back? When you look at Christian McCaffrey, first round, Breece Hall and Purdy were second round, Nick Chubb, second round, Saquon, first round, Jonathan Taylor, second round, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, and Jahmyr Gibbs, all first round. Derrick Henry, second round, Travis Etienne, first round. It's because they have intangibles. And Kyren Williams, it's not like he lacks intangibles. And this isn't trying to be funny, but Kyren Williams is a gritty fucking running back. I don't think he has top 10 potential as a running back, but that dude just plays so fucking hard. He puts up top 10 type of numbers. And I don't know if he's going to be able to going to consistently be able to do that year in and year out. So I get why he's off the list, but he did have a monster year last year. It's just for me, I got to see another year of it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to do that, if you put Kyren off rip, I want you to go look at James Conner's season last year. And when you look at it, you're kind of like, holy fuck. Like James Conner did a very similar things in 13 games instead of 12. And you look at the offense he was around. So I think that's where people kind of take that situation also to granted.
I said that, and I think Travis Etienne Jr. is very good. And I get he's up there in broken tackles. And actually, so is Kyren Williams, ironically. I would put Kyren on this list at 10 over Travis Etienne. I mean, given the year he had last year. And I like Travis, but I don't think it warrants putting him on a top 10 list, what he did last year, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at. I'm not fighting for him to be like top 5, but he should be on this list.
I would put Etienne and Kyren over Josh Jacobs. I really don't know what the hell Josh Jacobs is doing on this list. I'm sorry. Like I think he's just living off that monster contract year. I think he's a solid running back in the NFL, and I think he's one of those guys that he's hard to tackle. And I'll stand on this till the day I die. I think David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs are the same running back. Like they do the exact same things. Obviously, Josh Jacobs might be a little bit stronger, but when you look at David Montgomery, like especially in Chicago, he broke more tackles than Josh Jacobs. I think those are the same type of guys. I think Josh Jacobs, the hype of that 1 year, I think follows him around still. Like he's not a bad running back, but I don't think he's a top 10 running back because he can't catch the ball. I'm sorry, he can't.
Well, what about the when we just had this discussion? Bijan's ranked 6th, then Jahmyr's 8th, with Josh Jacobs at 7. Where are you at with the Bijan versus Jahmyr thing? I mean, Bijan's 2 spots higher according to what executives, coaches, scouts.
I don't hate it whatsoever, just because, and I've said it numerous times. Like if you want to take Breece Hall, Bijan, and Jahmyr Gibbs, I think those are going to be the next 3 running backs to take over the NFL. And I do think now that Raheem Morris is going in there, I think he has the IQ to realize, oh, Bijan Robinson is one of the best running backs in the NFL. Let's give it to him instead of trying to give Cordell Patterson, Tyler Algier the ball 30-33, like just keep splitting it down the line. Like, no, Bijan Robinson's a top 5, possibly top 3 running back in the NFL. Feed that man. I think they're going to a lot more this year, and he's not going to have the type of backfield share that Jahmyr and David Montgomery have. So I'm not mad at it, especially if it's that much of a gap. Like I'd put Bijan in front of Nick Chubb. I'd probably put him in front of Saquon, and I love Saquon, but I think Bijan just due for a year, man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Wow.
I think he is. I said I wouldn't be mad if you have Jahmyr over him. I think it's close. Booner mentioned how we had an argument earlier, given the situation. And that's just how we're different, me and Booner, with like certain things. Like Booner, he doesn't think, he doesn't want to fault the player for having a good situation, which I don't think is like, okay, that's his way. I factor in situations for everything. It's like Devontae Adams I brought up on the show. Like I have to include Devontae in all my top receiver rankings, even though he had Aiden O'Connell. Like I have to factor that in.
Yeah,
that's just how I do it.
Yeah,
I
mean, I
really
think you include him, but like, are you putting him number one anymore?
He's top 3 to me.
Yeah, but he's not like he used to be. You could like we had the argument last year going into last year that Devontae could have been over Justin Jefferson. Like that was an argument me and Klotz had all last summer was Devontae or Justin Jefferson. And the year goes on down and like Devontae Adams is still Devontae Adams, but he was in a bad situation. Numbers went down, and now like that affects where he's at on the list. I think it's like similar with Jahmyr and Bijan. Like yeah, Bijan might not have he got way more carries and way more touches than Jahmyr, and they almost had the same amount of yards. Like Jahmyr was only like 80 or 100 away from what he had with way less touches. So it's like, yeah, that's because the offensive line and Bijan was in a bad situation. Bijan still had 30, 40 more touches than him and like wasn't far off when it comes to yardage. And maybe that's, the way he was getting the ball, the offensive line, but I can't fault Jahmyr Gibbs for that. It's the same thing with like a Devontae Adams situation. Like, yeah, he's still top 5, but you're not putting him number 1 because he didn't have a number 1 year. Like you have to take all into consideration.
And JJ's just better. I mean, he is. He's just
100%. It's just like kind of that example is a similar thing to where it's Devontae just didn't have as big of a year as he usually does because of the situation.
And with Bijan too, I'm definitely not going to be mad because I think Jahmyr's one of those guys that can take you to the house right now. And not saying that Bijan can't, but Bijan's a guy that's going to probably get you a first down or two until then. I think he's a guy that you can consistently hand the ball off to between 15 and 20 times and not have to worry. I think with Jahmyr, I think I would be confident in doing that, but not every game. Just because with his frame, Bijan just a guy that I think can take more and just his balance off of that. He's a playmaker waiting to happen. So it's really just a flavor thing.
There's still that argument like Bijan could be more of a bell cow back to where you just give him the rock.
Oh, he is.
And Jahmyr, it is too different a little bit, but like they're still a little similar. But I just think like I look at Jahmyr and maybe I'm crazy more as a Christian McCaffrey. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, Bijan's the closest thing the NFL has seen since Adrian Peterson since he's retired, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's fair. I'm just waiting to see it. Like I think this year it happens. I think you see it this year with the new head coach and a new offense basically. So like if we see it this year, then all right, now we got to see it. Now we can put him more higher up on the list. We can put him top 3. Like I think Breece Hall, you saw it this year with the bad situation. He still went out there and got 1,600 all-purpose yards. Like that's incredible. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
He had
with
the
Tim
4th
Boyle
most
toting the fucking rock.
Yeah, he had the 4th most all-purpose yards. That offensive line, like if you guys don't remember the Hard Knocks going into the season, all Aaron Rodgers was talking about and they were talking about was how bad that offensive line was.
They're fucking brutal.
And he went out there and he just scrapped 1,600 yards together coming off an ACL injury. Like if I was to throw any player that hasn't really had that big year yet into the top 3, I would say give me Breece Hall over those guys. Like that's just I think that's logical.
So you're factoring in, to be fair, you're factoring in the situation a little bit.
Well, no, he was in a bad situation and still put the numbers up. Yeah, he was in a bad situation and still had the numbers. If Bijan went out there and had 1,600 all-purpose yards, I would put Bijan in the top 5 instantly in a bad situation. Breece Hall did it in a bad situation coming off an ACL injury.
Yeah,
like,
and
that's incredible, dude.
That Jets O-line was, I mean, not close to Atlanta. I mean, Dad with Tourette's says Bijan is a similar situation where Atlanta has an elite O-line and another competent running back. I actually would disagree because I think quarterback play is really important. That's what Breece Hall we just brought up, like Tim Boyle. We're stacking the box. I'm scared of Tim Boyle. And with Desmond Ridder, I'm stacking the box. Like, we're not scared of Desmond Ridder. You stack the box against Jared Goff, he's going to pick you apart. Like it's
Taylor Heineke backing those safeties up. Back those safeties up.
Where's Taylor Heineke at now? Isn't he like Seattle or Broncos?
I think
he got traded somewhere.
I think he's still in Atlanta, man.
Yeah, he's
I could be wrong.
He's still in Atlanta. He's a third string right there.
Yeah, that's tough. I thought he got traded. They should just trade him.
He's 31.
Hendon doesn't work out. That's who I want. It's my
Where
backup.
do you think Gibbs will get to this year? What do you think, Gibbs? You think he can crack that top?
I think top
3.
I think top 5. I think like now after this year, Klotz's point, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Saquon, CMC. That's your new top 5 after this season. Yeah. Like, welcome to the new era of football. These are the dudes.
Yeah, I'm with Boone. And like I said, I easily could see it being a top 3 type of season for Jahmyr Gibbs. The GOAT, Louis Riddick, said he's going to have an offensive player of the year type of season. And when he says that, that's when you know it's actually legitimate as far as hype goes, because he can do it all. And I think he's a player that last year led the NFL and think about the short season that he did have compared to other running backs, led the NFL in 20-yard plus carries, was third in the NFL in yards per carry. I know that that was on a lower snap count than some, but when you just look at it and how that translates to the game with his intangibles and his ability to read, his ability to run in between the tackles, cut it back outside, make a move, and it's just a house call, I think he's going to have a lot more opportunities on the ground this year. I know you fellas don't think as much, but I do, especially when it gets later in the season. So Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, could be a top 3 guy at the floor, top 5.
No. That's a big accusation right there. Oh,
Oh.
no. We all have our faults. We all have our faults.
Illinois,
we don't bring them up.
Lukas Riddick
Stand
thought
down, Joe Lucas.
Trubisky would be MVP. Hey, we're gonna get some wrong.
He has his misses, but that man's hit rate is.
Did he actually think that though?
I don't know.
That's a brutal miss.
That one must be
rare L.
Hey, we all have our misses, boys?
Yeah, Joe Klatt, I'm sure he has a miss. Couple. Maybe he does.
They love JJ. Both of them love JJ. That'll be another miss.
I think
Not a
I
miss.
don't know. Me and Joe Klatt, we disagreed over that one. I think on this list, I think Christian McCaffrey's he's still going to be the best back. I think Saquon will be 2, and then that third spot, it's really. I think Saquon's that to me he's the second best back in the league. I think Brees is 3. That's fine. Like to me, 2 and 3, you can argue it. But I think they're top 3, and then 4, it's like, what does Nick Chubb look like? I think Jahmyr will crack that top. I think you put him top 5, and then you have Bijan. Does he have a big year? He's gonna be fighting for that top 5. That's what I think this year.
Bijan, and I think Jonathan Taylor has a chance to lead the league in rushing too. But those two both.
There's another one.
To your point, Klotzy,
he's gonna be good this year.
Just like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is going to a great offense. Saquon's going to the Eagles with the second best offense line in the NFL, and like. If DeAndre Swift could have a career year in Philly, imagine what Saquon.
I'm with you. I was just surprised at 2. I didn't think you'd have him at 2.
Yeah,
I do think he does have a massive year. Like as long as he stays healthy, which I think he can in Philly. I like the fact that DeAndre Swift, had his career season and stayed healthy in Philly makes me feel like Saquon can go in there and do something crazy.
I'm just not worried, but in the goal line. Interested to see that rushing game without Kelsey. That's the only thing. Like, I don't think their offensive line will be bad, but I do think it makes a difference.
Cam Jurgens or whatever his name is.
Yeah. He'll be solid. I don't think they're still top 3 offensive line.
I think Saquon could get anywhere from like 1,700 to 2,000 yards, scrimmage yards.
Oh, I thought you were about to say rushing yards.
Maybe I'd even go 18 to 2,000. Yeah, I think you can get 1,500 rushing and like 400 receiving. Like, I think he's good for almost 2,000 yards from scrimmage. So, but there'll be some backs that have some. There's always a couple that like Josh Jacobs coming out of nowhere leading the league in rushing. There's always
you all know who it is this year? And I was baffled when I saw his like last 6 game is Jahmyr White, because the Raiders didn't touch that running back room.
Georgia,
and I was a big fan of Jahmyr White coming out of Georgia, and then I watched him towards the back half of last year, literally today. I'm like, oh, that's the fantasy sleeper right there. It's a fit like the 7th, 8th round running back steal.
So they really didn't get another running back after letting Josh Jacobs go?
No, not like a major one. No.
Wow.
I think they drafted someone. I could double check here real quick, but I'm pretty sure they might have drafted.
I'm sure they brought
they brought Alexander Madison in.
Yeah. Okay.
Amir Abdullah.
We saw that project last year.
Yeah, Madison will be that. They'll be a good little. They'll use both of them.
Jahmyr White's into the RB1 now.
Yeah.
Depth chart.
Hey. Well, we mentioned Lukas Riddick. He's going to have some misses, and another person that has some misses, has some hits is Chris Collinsworth. He's a good old Chris Collinsworth. Here's a guy. Now here's a guy, and he showed some love to the Lions. He was on X talking to fans, and he tweeted out some opinions about the Lions, and one of them being. He just was going on rants about teams, and he said, "Okay, start with the Lions. I love first-round running back, cornerback Terron Arnold to go with the Bucs, Carlton Davis, and if DJ Reader is healthy, Aleem McNeil may be unstoppable up front. Really good offseason."
What a dog!
Hey, that's Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah, it is. I love to hear that.
He also said this, responding to an Eagles fan. He was sticking up. He was going to war. This Eagles fan said, Terrion will not be good in year 1. He's a converted safety who struggled tremendously with mirroring wide receivers. He's a good tackler, but but can be beat downfield. Like, any corner can be beat. I mean, that fun fact. And then he responded to that and says, I will respectfully disagree. Terrion Arnold attacks receivers and recovers when they escape taking angles and cutting them off at the boundaries. Not nearly the athlete your Eagles got with Quinyon Mitchell, but it's also a player with Mitchell.
Hey. Cooked him. I like Chris. I'm a Chris Collinsworth fan. He's the one that does the slide in too, right, with the chair.
He made you a fan.
I'm a fan of Chris Collinsworth. I think the other like I like the Terrion one, fellas. Like I think we all know what Terrion Arnold's going to be. The other one with like the DJ Reader too. That just makes me feel like Brad Holmes just absolutely dominated the offseason when it comes to like he just got CB1, CB2. He went and added to the defensive line, and people are starting to see it. Like national media are starting to be like, okay, hey, like the Detroit, like Brad Holmes went out and got dudes on this defense. Yeah, we don't have an edge rusher. We could keep saying it over and over. I could sound like a broken record. They got dudes on this defensive side of the ball now. Mm-hmm. So I think people are starting to usually that are used to hating on the Detroit Lions, and in national media is like, hey, you guys should stop hating on them because guess what? This is a football team, boys. Welcome.
Yeah, his point about Aleem McNeil is great because we've been saying that on the show a lot. How DJ Reader is going to make him very, very good if he's healthy, which hopefully he will be for majority of the season. But his comment there about Quinyon Mitchell, and I had Quinyon as my number one corner. I think you did too, Boone. I think Mike did too. So I think you were the only one, Lucas, that had Terrion as your number one corner. But I will say this, even as someone, and it wasn't we can all agree, it was never a big drop off. We thought Quinyon and Terrion were like the two, and I had Kool-Aid McKinstry up in there, maybe like top 5. He was a top 3-4. I'd put him. Lions didn't end up getting him. The Saints did. But I didn't know Terrion Arnold would be there and Quinyon Mitchell. So the Lions got Terrion. I will say this, though, even from a guy who likes Quinyon Mitchell a lot. I think Chris Collinsworth nails it. He's not the athlete, but guys, athleticism, it helps. But there's corners that are, Richard Sherman, I know people would call him, the zone corner, but he ran like a 4.5, didn't he? Like a 4.6, 4.5, whatever it was. 40 times don't always determine how great you're going to be as a corner. And I know Sauce ran like a ridiculous fast 40. And I think it helps with recovering and stuff like that. But I still think Terrion and Quinyon are going to be great corners. So I'm not even going to sit here and I think the Eagles fan was clearly just trying to, hey, we got a better corner than they did. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be the case. I think both of them are going to have really good careers. And to be honest, I learned more about Terrion's mentality and his approach to football, him being a Lion, than I never ever knew. And I actually respect him more because of it, like his love for the game and seeing his work ethic. There's stuff I just didn't know about Terrion, the human being, which Brad obviously knew a lot about. That's why he had him as his top corner. But listen, liked Quinyon Mitchell a lot, but Terrion's going to be a damn good corner. So even a converted safety, if you can do that in Nick Saban's system and be very, very good, I think you're going to be fine in the NFL.
Yeah, and a point you did make, the mentality, that was kind of more of the reason that we were so high on Quinyon over Terrion when the draft started, because all those videos came out, him talking about being a Lion and just how much he really loved the game. That's kind of what pushed us, to wanting Quinyon. But these guys were always 1A, 1B in our minds. And then now that we've seen Terrion, obviously we drafted him, he's opened up more and we've learned more about him. We love him more as a person. We've always loved the player, but just more opening up as we've seen. And it's still early. We're just learning more and more about the guy, and it's just making us love him even more.
Yeah, Chris Collinsworth, he's probably getting ready, just checking out the rosters that were possibly being made for week 1, Lions versus Rams. He's like, oh, God. Wonder who the Lions got on the defensive side of the ball. They still got that Anzarike down at defensive tackle. Let's check it. Oh, DJ Reader. They still got that Vildor, that Sutton out there. Oh, they got Carlton. Now here's a guy, Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold. But yeah, I think Chris Collinsworth is on point with it. And as far as what they were saying specifically with Terrion, if you just simply watch his film against Georgia, mirroring wide receivers is not an issue for him. And I think, Jeff, to your point, if you're a safety that Nick Saban goes, you're a damn good safety, but you're way too good in coverage to be kept here. Let's put you at corner. And then you excel, and then you are undoubtedly one of the best corners in the draft this year, and then you fall to the 20s and the Lions trade up in front of the Green Bay Packers to go and get you, and you happen to just be the cornerback 2 now alongside Brian Branch. who's going to be in the safety room, and then you just look at that safety room behind him. Terrion Arnold's in a position where he's going to flourish. So for him to say that he's not going to have success year one, yeah, he might not be a sauce to your point, Jeff, but he's going to be a damn good player by the end of the year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to throw this out there too, because I thought about this when I was like looking over my notes for this segment, and I was like, I wonder if there's a chance, and this like I want to know what you guys think. Like, is there a chance Terrion Arnold, and in the chat too, ends up being CB1 by the end of the season over Carlton? And when you're like, this guy, and it goes back to me at least, like it goes back to the situation last year with Brian Branch and CJ Gardner-Johnson, to where CJ Gardner-Johnson is a respected safety in the NFL last year, and you bring him in and you're like, oh, this is the guy now. But you get a guy from Alabama, a Nick Saban kid, who I say it all the time. It's like, you can't keep Brian Branch off the football field. Like, training camp came around, they're like, this kid's too good. Like, and I know how hard it is for a corner in the NFL to come in as a rookie and dominate. But all right, say it does take him some time. When he ends up getting adjusted and his feet wet into the game in the NFL and ends up getting in there and he's getting action on a team that's a contending team and he's playing in meaningful games and he's making plays, I feel like a Terrion guys like a Brian Branch, where you're like, this is a kid you can't take off the football field, and he ends up taking over that CB1 spot. And you're like, hey, he just is that much more better and talented than Carlton. Because you guys, you got to think about this too. Like, think about the future. Carlton Davis, yeah, he's a great corner in the NFL. He's on we traded for him on a 1-year deal, and the Lions didn't extend him for a reason. Like, there's a reason why they typically, you see some trades. I don't know how often it happens in the NFL, but like in the NBA, you bring in a guy and knowing that he's on a 1-year deal, if you really like him and want him, you give him that contract with the trade. They didn't do that for Carlton Davis. They said, we're going to go draft Terrion Arnold. We're going to bring in Meek. We're going to bring Ennis Rakestraw in. Guess what? You have 1 year left of your deal. Battle it out. And I think there's a chance, like, and this isn't a knock at Carlton, but it's more so like a guy from Bama like Terrion. It's like, hey, he might end the season CB1, and then you could tell Carlton, hey, we can give you a little less money because we got this kid.
I know Terrion's good. No, he's a Bama boy, but that boy Carlton Davis from Auburn's pretty damn good too. And I think, to your point, Booner, he's on a 1-year contract. So what does he have to prove? That he's worth that money after this year to sign him? And I just think he's a perfect scheme fit for this Aaron Glenn defense. And I just think he's exactly the prototype of corner that they want, and he can produce right now. With Terrion, I think there's going to be struggles and some hiccups early on, but Booner, I think maybe at the end of the year, they're to a point where it's like, okay, if Justin Jefferson's in motion, let's not convert the whole defense so Carlton Davis has to rush his ass over there. Terrion, take this one. Terrion, if Justin Jefferson lines up on you this time, take him for this rep. I think they could ease him into cornerback one type of positions, but year one with a cornerback like Carlton Davis and how he plays in Aaron Glenn's scheme, I just don't see it happening year one. Could I be wrong? Yes, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, the thing that people make this mistake with corners too, like top corners and like, yeah, a lot of the great corners. I mean, Patrick Surtain and Sauce Gardner, they ran 4.4 40s. Jalen Ramsey 4.4 40. But then there's other great corners that did not run a 4.4, and that's Jalen Johnson, who Steve Wilds brought up in the chat too, same 40 as Terrion Arnold. And you look at the fastest 40s of all time for corners. I'll go through them. Number one, tied for first, Kalen Barnes. 4.23. Tied for first with him, DJ Turner the second, 4.23. And I like DJ Turner.
Not out.
But Tariq Woolen, 4.26 was third. Stanford Route 4.27 out of Houston.
Could you look up what Xavier Rhodes' 40 time was? Because I don't think he ran a fast 40, and that man was fucking. Well,
Stanford was 4. He ran a 4.27, and then tied for fifth was Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey was pretty good. 4.28. What about Jalen Myrick?
Keep going.
4.28. DeMarcus Van Dyke, 4.28. So, I mean, again, 40 time does not transfer over you being a great corner. Xavier Rhodes ran a 4.43.
Yeah, so, and to this point too, in Klotz, I'm with you on that, because remember, like, it's like Carlton Davis, it's known, like, even people in Tampa who they got rid of him, they all will admit, like, now that he's gone, hey, when he's at his best, he could be a top 10 corner in the league. If Terrion ends up working out by the end of the year, you just might end up with one of the best corner duos in the NFL going into the playoffs.
And then think about who's behind him.
That doesn't hurt.
Right.
Think about who's behind him. You got 3 and 4 ready to go.
And then with that, like your secondary, this was the question. I don't know, Klotzy, if we did this on Thursday or Friday when you're out, but I think I asked a question like, can this Detroit Lions secondary be a top 10 secondary by the end of the season? And we did that rank. I think you actually might have been here because they were ranked 11th in the ESPN or the 33rd team. Like when you really think about it in those terms, how good Carlton is and how good Terrion can be. And then you're like, hey, guess what? Now we have Brian Branch still in the nickel. We have Iffy and Kirby. We still have Amik Robertson. We're like, dude, there's no way. Like if Terrion ends up working out, this secondary could be one of the best in the league. Like this corner duo.
When they put out the nickel package and they have Terrion, Carlton Davis, Iffy, Kirby, and then Brian Branch at nickel, that's, in my opinion, at least on paper, that's a top 10 secondary in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then you're able to put more on the defensive line as well to get to the quarterback. I think Aaron Glenn's going to be running a shit ton of nickel this year, especially at the end of last year when he was running it, because he couldn't get pressure on the defensive line. So it was like either Iffy or Brian Branch were sacking the quarterback. And if it's not broke, don't fix it, especially if you're getting more talent.
That's why too, like, when you were out last week, Klotzy, and Amik Robertson, I don't know if you saw his tweet. Like he was like, I'm not a death piece or something. But it's just like this room though. The thing is, and I said this, like this whole room is just depth. Like you just have all like you just have all players who could just be on the field, and you're like last year, anyone was on the field, you're uncomfortable. Oh, this is bad. You could put anyone on there now, and I'm gonna I feel a little comfortable here. I feel like I get a good feeling. I'm not like freaking out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I laughed too when the. I think the Eagles fan brought up something. I don't know if it was him or someone mentioned it, but in that discussion about like Terrion Arnold, dude, you watch how fluid this man's hips are. I mean, you watch him work out. My gosh,
that workout video he put out there too. That's what made me be like, I think this dude's a dog.
Rarely do you get converted from safety to corner. Normally, it's you're going, okay, you're corner, you're good at tackling, but you're either going into the nickel or you're playing safety now. And for him to go, oh, you're going to be corner now, and you're going to be the best corner in the SEC. That says something, especially when you got guys like Malik Neighbors in the SEC.
Yeah, he doesn't miss tackles either.
Xavier Legette.
Kneecap biting with the Motor City Lions. I love that name, by the way. He says Branch is starting at strong safety.
I think so.
We have two different opinions. Like Jeff, you said last week you don't think you should keep him.
I think he should be in the nickel. That's
so I'm interested in this when it comes to training camp then.
I think when you talk about with Amik, the way that he's been chirping, and I think there's some legitimate talk there, and you talk about if he's having a really good camp, he's a guy that you saw balling out last year, you could have, and I wouldn't have any problem with it. You have Branch at strong safety, Kirby at free safety, and then Carlton Davis, Amik at the nickel, and then Terrion on the outside. Like, I'm not mad at that lineup either. But I do want to see Iffy on the field. I want to see Iffy on the field.
I am a little bit with Jeff to where it's like Branch was so good there last year. It's like, why move him? But I think like going to training, that's why I can't wait to go to training camp. That battle, like to see these guys in different spots, like what is AG going to do?
Yeah,
AG's got the chess pieces now.
And I get people bring up the Kirby stuff, but the thing about Kirby is I just think Kirby's presence on the field just changes quarterbacks. Yeah. Like it changes everything. Like because they know how good he is at being a ball hawk. Like it just kind of his presence, although I get it, sometimes there'll be times where he's burned. But I just think him being out there, it puts fear into any quarterback.
Like, if you watch his picks against Aaron Rodgers, like he covers like hash the sideline like right now. When it's cover two, like that's where Kirby Joseph excels. And when Aaron Glenn likes running a lot of man-to-man, you need that safety that if your corner gets beat, he can cover his ass and go make a play. And that's exactly what Kirby does. So to your point, Jeff, he misses a couple tackles, but then he's also laying dudes out. He makes up for when he misses.
The thing to me too, like the Iffy stuff, like he had that 6-7 game stretch where he was elite. And I know we said it before, like if Iffy does that for a whole season, he's the best safety in the league. Like the numbers he was putting up, if you like put that through like per 17, he's the best safety in the NFL. So I'm interested to see if he ends up playing like that coming out in training camp. It is hard to say. You cannot take.
It's gonna be a battle.
Iffy Melifonwu off the field, you cannot. Like if he's playing like he did to end the season, there is zero chance you can. So that's where it's like it gets a little interesting to where this battle, like the Amik Robertson thing. If he like, I don't know what do you do.
Before we move on, because we're going to get to our bold Lions predictions, and then we'll get to some other Lions predictions, bold Lions predictions that we'll review. Dad with Tourette says, I think we stick with a 4-2-5 base. We could see a 3-3-5 also. Aleem, DJ, Hutch, 3-man rush, anyone. Jack, Anzo, Barnes behind them. I think the 4-2-5, if you're at least putting your best players out there, I get that kind of makes more sense.
Yeah.
There'll be different packages, but 4-2-5, I mean, if you're just going off you have Aiden, Aleem, DJ, Davenport, I guess, and then you could have Anzo and Jack, which we would agree those guys need to be out
Barnes
there.
is going to end up getting the tough end of this one,
and that puts your strength. You got some guys in the secondary you want to get out there. There you go. I mean, you run 5 guys out there, but I'm
honestly, I would not hate. I would rather do that. Take
3-man rush. I think to Dad with Tourette's point, Aleem, DJ, and Hutch would be. I think you could still get pressure with. If you put Barnes out there too, it just depends matchups and who you're facing. But they have more tools. That's why we always bring up with AG. I don't think there's as many excuses because he has more tools to be able to do more stuff. If DJ's out there, like it gives you a little more.
Think about the 4-2 James Houston on the other side. Get some speed out there.
Yeah. You can more to work with for
creative.
Sure.
You can.
I think they have a lot of. That's why AG has like every chess piece that he needs now. Besides maybe add Matthew Judon, and he has every chess piece in the world, and you're set to go. Like that deal needs to get done. I need to make some calls.
I can't wait when we go in training camp to see him like live with this defense, especially in the secondary. Just seeing because he's going to be locked in even more now because he knows he has no excuse this year. Like he knows it more than anybody because he's been asking. He asked, "Can you bring me CJ Gardner-Johnson?" I'm familiar with him, and guess what? Hurt whole season. That was probably his second best piece in the secondary besides Brian Branch last year. Didn't even have him.
I mean, look what he's done with some of these guys anyways, like Kirby, Iffy, now Brian Branch. He's been able to help some of these guys just be absolute dogs.
Well, fellas, I like this. I like this segment because we're in the offseason. This is where we get our bold predictions out there. And Tim 21 did an article on DetroitLions.com kind of putting out bold predictions for the Detroit Lions. And I figured, why don't we do our own? Just give a bold prediction. It could be anything about a player, about the team's accomplishments, something that's bold, creative, take some kahunas. Booner, you could start, and then I'll go next.
All right.
I'll let you. We'll go you. I'm pointing. You, me, Lucas.
Yeah.
And then lead off. Lead off is always tough.
And then we'll react to Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated. They have 6 bold predictions. We'll go through that. But let's give out ours first. Chat, feel free to chime in. Give some bold predictions, and we'll put them up after we give ours. But Booner,
I want to ask you guys: do you guys want extra bold, or you just want bold?
Extra bold.
There's an extra bold.
Extra Booner's July. We need extra bold.
Extra bold is like probably won't happen, but if it did, this would be pretty sick. Like you guys are gonna be like, I'm gonna say it, and you guys are gonna be like, Booner, that's not gonna happen. This is unrealistic, Booner. But it's extra bold, and if it happened, we could clip it in 12 months and be like,
all right.
How about this?
It's July. It's July.
All right. I think this would be the first time in NFL history for this to happen. I could be wrong. I think the Detroit Lions, the bold prediction, you might be able to see this season.
Hold on.
The Detroit Lions put 2 1,000-yard receivers and 2 1,000-yard rushers. I don't think it's that it's pretty bold and it's something that I don't think has ever happened in the NFL. I could be wrong. I think Jeff, you might have been the one that put it out last year that no team's ever had two 1,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard rusher. But if you do look at it, and I don't think
Dad with Tourette's put the same thing out. You guys were lockstep in.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know how bold it is, but look at it last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 1,500 yards. That's going to be a lock. Laporta, 889. I don't know why I said it like that. I read it from my paper here. 889. He was 111 yards off from having 1,000 yards. So I think Laporta, to all of our points, I think Laporta does take a step forward this year. Being Josh Reynolds is gone, you need more production. You need another pass catcher out there. I think Laporta gets a couple extra catches. Jahmyr Gibbs, he was 55 yards away from hitting 1,000 yards, and he only played in 15 games.
He'll get that 55. In his sleep, Boone. He'll get it in his sleep, Boone.
And then there's David Montgomery, who only played in 14 games. And to my theory here is when you saw or heard David Montgomery talk earlier in minicamp, he mentioned how him and Gibbs want to split more carries so they're able to play in more football games and stay healthy longer. I do think Gibbs ends up getting majority of the carries, and it changes. Like this year, D-Mont had 220. and Gibbs had 180, so we had 30 more. I think you see that get closer, if not flop or flip around. But I think you still see D-Mont end up playing in a lot of football games. I think he cracks that 1,000-yard mark as well. And I think that's the first time in NFL history that would ever happen. I don't think that's ever even happened before.
Wow.
I think that's historic. And this offense is together for a third year again. Like this team is together for a third straight year. They're only going to get better. And I said last week, I think they can go from the fifth best offense or fourth up to the top three.
Yeah, I think a big part of that, Boone, and I think Ben Johnson's going to be in his bag all year, but if he can fix that third quarter woe, especially coming out of halftime, even if it's for one drive or two, I mean, that's a lot of production over 17 games. So I think there could be, it's a long shot, but I think it's more closer to reality than you're giving it
and
chance for.
Klotz, to your point, and I've been thinking about this more often, they are going to probably attack the run game a little bit more this year. Like with the defense that you have. The defense you have now, it's like, all right, let's establish a run. I do think that benefits Gibbs and D-Mont to where you could see both of them. Gibbs, they were literally only 55 yards. There was a chance if Gibbs just hits a couple runs in week 18 or week 18, they both hit 1,000 yards. And that doesn't happen often. So I think that you could see it this year happen the way that offense is going to be. And then you're just asking for Sam Laporta to get 100 more yards. I don't think that's like a tough ask.
He's the number one receiver that's going to benefit off that play action too.
Yeah. I love this one. Mark this down, bookmark it. Someone clip it, clip the prediction, and let's get back to it in January. We'll talk about it again.
All right, Hefe.
So I have a couple. I don't know if I should fire off first. I don't know if I should fire off. I was feeling bold when I was writing these. All right, we'll start with this one. We'll start with this one, and then we'll go back around, and I'll give you. This is the one. The next one I'm going to do. All right, the first one, I think that Detroit Lions tight end Sam Laporta will lead all tight ends in receiving yards. I think he's first. Last year, George Kittle had 1,020, but the year prior, Travis Kelce had 13, almost 1,400, I believe. So this year, I don't think it's going to be 1,000, but I think Sam Laporta go out there and show them why you're the best tight end, and at least one of the. And I think he does it. Leads all tight ends, and it varies just like the sacks. Booner, we brought it up with the sacks. Remember, every year it kind of goes up and down. This year, I think 1,100 yards could lead all tight ends. Who knows? With Kelce being a little questionable with some of the injuries he's dealt with, so I'm going with.
This fits my narrative.
Leads tight ends.
That narrative
leads all tight ends in receiving yards.
What was the number? Do you guys remember we had that conversation last week? What was the number that we were like, can he hit that? I threw
1,100. It was 1,100.
Was it 1,100?
I believe.
Hey, love the narrative, Jeff Iafrate.
Hey,
Jeff
you like that?
Rodriguez Iafrate.
You might be mad at me for this one because it kind of goes against your narrative, but it's good for the Lions.
No, that's fine.
And it fits into the conversation we just had, and I posted on Twitter last week. But I think Brian Branch is going to be the just best defensive player over Aiden Hutchinson on this Detroit Lions defense this year. I do. I think when you look at the conversation we just had, you can put him at safety or you can put him at nickel. And when you see the tools that he had or he's going to have around him this year, he's just going to be a menace through the air and on the ground when it comes defensively. I think Brian Branch, and I know it's two different positions, but just how he picked up this defense, especially in the secondary he was a better rookie nickel than Aiden Hutchinson was the defensive end. I think Aiden Hutchinson's still going to go out and get 15 sacks this year, but I just think Brian Branch, I truly will be like the leader and tone setter of this defense.
Ooh, you know what? I got a Brian Branch one on here, boys.
I don't hate that. Honestly, I think he can end up being like one of the best players in the league, and Aiden Hutchinson still win Defensive Player of the Year. Like, you have two of the best defensive players on your team. I don't think that's like I think that can happen, right? Like, I don't think that's something. Think
about like even the games like Minnesota where he had a pick, but he dropped one like 2 plays before that, or drive before that. Like everything he needs to just get better at. We talked about how fundamentally sound he was, how it's like this kid isn't even a rookie, and this playing one of the hardest positions in the sport to play, and now he's got another off season. He's going to be dominant this year. I really do. I think I book him for an All-Pro. Book him.
Do you remember when we were doing the stream for the Chiefs game? And like, yeah, we all knew who Brian Branch was. Like, we've heard about him through training camp that he was getting that starting spot. But there was tackle for losses, sacks, interception. There was every single time, and Klotz, me and you were running socials at the time. And we were like, we would see a play happen, like a tackle for a loss. And we're like, who is that? There's a pile. Who is that? Who is that? 32 pops out. Brian Branch, boys. And it was like next play, big play, pile again. Who comes out of the pile? Number 32 again, Brian Branch. And it just kept happening. You're like, dude, he's about to be an absolute dog.
His game against the Falcons was insane. Yeah, I mean, he single-handedly just killed that team.
Yeah, he laid the he was laying dudes out. I'll let me add this. It's a Brian Branch one. Something I wrote down here just to add to what you said. I think Brian Branch, first team All Pro, first team.
I like it.
Last year, Kyle Hamilton, Antoine Winfield Jr., Jesse Bates, they were all first team. I think that's doable. We say it All Pro. Why not? Fuck it. Why not go first?
Remember the stat comparison that I brought up? The blind stat comparison.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who I did it with, but whoever it was second team All Pro.
I think we did Jesse Bates, didn't you? Or no, Simmons.
Yes, Justin Simmons. Yes.
Yeah,
yep.
I remember that. Okay, let's Tyler. I'm gonna get to the chat in a second here because they're listing off.
Gentry, you got a bold?
Yeah, I didn't know what it actually was. I didn't know if we were talking like NFL wise bold prediction or just bold prediction on the Lions season. But the one I was gonna do, obviously, you guys kind of took it up a notch and went All Pro. But I was just gonna do Brian Branch will lead the Lions in interceptions, and I think he's at least getting 5 this year. And then my other one, it's not so bold, and it might seem slappy-ish, but Aiden Hutchinson will be up there for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he'll be in the top 3, and hopefully pushing for that one seed. He's getting 14, 15 sacks minimum. So let Hutchinson.
I love that one too. Let's go, baby.
You know what, Boone? You got one more?
I'm gonna save mine because I feel like are we gonna do this every week? I don't want to give all of mine out if we're doing them each week.
Yeah, I'm about to rattle them off.
Because I did the last one we did. I did Defensive Player of the Year for Hutch, and then this one
did you? Damn.
That was.
I have one more. I have one more.
Let me say this because it counteracts Mike.
Okay.
And this is bold, boys. This is bold. But I'm going for it all. I'm going for it right here. Hey, clip this right now. I could either look like an ass in a couple, not even a couple months. It's more than that. Or I look like a genius. Lions rookie corner Terrion Arnold will lead the Lions in interceptions.
Wow.
More interceptions than anybody. Kirby Joseph did it last year. I think he had 4.
Yep. Branch
Terrion Arnold messed around, get 4. Get 4 or 5. He might lead the team in interceptions. So I'm going with that. Terrion Arnold to lead the Lions in interceptions as a rookie. That one's bold, boys. I don't even know if I like that one, but I'm saying it. It's
all
right.
But Jeff,
when you look at quarterback 2s, those are the guys that get a lot of the interceptions.
That was it. They're going to throw at him, Klotzy. They're going to throw at him.
Yeah.
I might have to dig through my sheet here, Jeff, because I'm pretty sure when we talked about his over-under, you took the under.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Remember, we're keeping track of all of these bold takes. Like, remember I said we're doing that segment where I'm keeping track of all of them, and then we're gonna revisit all of them. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, this one I wrote down and the date. I don't know, boys.
Right.
I'm going for it.
This is probably. I think this one's a little bit more bold if you think about it than my Brian Branch one, but I think Jamison Williams will combine for 10 touchdowns this year for the Detroit Lions. I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance when you look at it. He could get 6 to 7 through the air. I think when you truly watch how they used him at the end of last year, he made plays deep, he made plays on the run, and he made plays over the middle. So I think he's a guy that can do that. And I think in the run, he can get 2 tutties. And then Booner, what do we talk about, Booner? Those new kickoff rules. I think he gets at least one of them. I think he'll take at least one of those to the crib because he's not going to be back there all the time. I said, do not put him back there all the time, but situationally, go ahead. If it's a close game, you're playing San Francisco 49ers week 17, and you need to get good field position or a quick score, you put J-Mo back there. So I think that's probably my most bold one, but I think when you think through the air, on the ground, and on special teams, there's a chance you could combine for 10. It might be a 1% chance, but I think there's a chance.
Klotzy, you missed it last week. I gave out a bet. It was Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, each of them to have 6 receiving touchdowns plus 600. So $100 to win 600.
Because how much did J-Mo have last year? If you just look at the whole season, he had the one against the Bears when they were on the comeback. And then that one against the Chargers got called back. But then he had 2 against San Fran.
Probably had 3.
He had the one against the Saints.
He had 3
total last year.
He had 3 in the regular season.
Should have been 4 with the Chargers one, but we'll say 3.
But I'm saying even in the playoff game, they won't count that.
He had 2 in the playoffs. In the NFC Championship game, he had 2. So I'm with the Klotz. I like that one. He had 2 in the playoff game.
Yeah, bro. Everybody forgets about that catch. I know because it was an irrelevant score, but that dude had a snag to close out the NFC Championship game. Like everybody talks about J-Mo's hands. The man went up and got one with a corner draped all over him and put 2 feet in for Sundays. But I mean, even he was pissed about it because it was 31-17 and then 31-24 after. It was pretty much all she wrote. But J-Mo, you watch him at the end of last year, man. There was a lot of bright spots.
Yeah,
let him cook.
I wanna go through the chat because they got.
Should I save my other one? I got another one. Should I save it? Do you want me to save it?
No, let it fly, Boone. What do you got? Let it
July.
fly. Let it fly in July.
Talk to us, Boone.
That's all what you did there,
All
Jeff.
Right. I don't know how. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I want to do this. This is bold. Remember, this is bold.
Let it fly.
This is stuff that might not happen. I just want to throw this out there, though.
Yeah.
When you were talking about all-pro players, how many? I got to check. I want to make sure.
We get another all-pro? Fuck it. Throw another one out there. Everyone's an all-pro. Who we thinking, Boone? Fire it up.
I'm not going to do all-pro. I'm going to say this. Jared Goff will be in Los Angeles in the NFL awards, and he will be a finalist for NFL MVP.
Wow, you're really on that, aren't you?
Jared Goff will be an NFL MVP finalist. He will be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and I think it's going to come down. And mark my words here right now. Everyone, look me in the eyes. It's going to come down to week 16 or 17. The San Francisco 49ers, and they're going to go to San Francisco, 1 seed on the line. And Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions are going to go in there. He's going to throw for 300 and something yards, 3 touchdowns to Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he's going to end up putting himself in the MVP conversation versus San Francisco 49ers and have a chance at it. I 100% believe that's how this year is going to play out for Jared Goff.
So you think top 3, Boone? I just want to make sure because I'm gonna hold you to. So that's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. However you want to order it.
MVP finalist. Which I believe the MVP finalist. I could be wrong. I think it's top 3 or top 4. But he's going to be a finalist. It can
be whatever.
A finalist to where you're a mention when they do the awards and they put the video up there of the final. You might already know who won it, and maybe it's him. But the board goes up there. I think this year it might have been Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, and Lamar Jackson or something like that. Jared Goff will be in that conversation.
So do you think he'll have a top 3 season? He'll be a top 3. Doesn't mean he's the top 3 quarterback, but a top 3 type of season.
Yeah. I mean, if he's going to be top 3 for the MVP, he has to. I think this year, I mean, he was top 5 in every single quarterback category. I think the only reason that killed him is that Dallas lost and he didn't do much. The Ravens lost in a big game, doesn't do much. So
hey,
I love it. I'm all in on that.
And I think that's the longest shot one there, Boone. But, if it's your narrative, if it's the Booner path, the CPO of the path, I support it.
Let's go. That's part
Booner,
of it.
If you don't actually have the Goff MVP bet locked after all this time talking about it.
I will. I'm going to have that. Aiden Hutchinson, Defensive Player of the Year, and Detroit Lions Super Bowl. Those are the bets this year. I haven't locked them yet. I have to get liquid first. And then I can lock him.
I gotta get some liquid first.
Some liquid. Yeah. What would that look like? I mean, I see Tyler. So 35 plus TDs and sub 8 interceptions.
I think it's just under 10 interceptions. I think another 40. What did he have last year? I want to make sure I get the numbers right here.
Yeah, I want to say 47. I could be wrong.
He had 4,500 yards. I think he hits. He was second in the NFL with 4,500 yards. He was second in yards. He was 4th in touchdowns with 30. I think he gets more than 30 this year. And I think that stretch of football that you saw, the Chicago, Green Bay, Chicago, like that stretch that he had where he had all those turnovers, I think he stays away from those. And I think if the Lions, again, guys.
Every quarterback has a slump, though, Boone.
They do.
Even
but I think this
did.
year, do you remember that stretch, though, he went on from, I think it was like week 7 of 2 years ago up until like week 4 of last year, where he had like one of the longest streaks without an interception. If he hits that again and they go out and win 13 games and they're the number 1 seed and he puts numbers up versus say like Dallas, goes into Dallas, puts numbers up, goes into San Fran, puts numbers up, and has a good home record, I don't think there's like a reason where people are, and again, it's like the defensive player of the year with Hutch. Once the conversation starts, these are media awards. Like they start rolling once you put it.
Yeah,
like, that's how Purdy got it.
If he beats Stafford and he beats CJ Stroud, I think there'll be a strong narrative early.
Yeah. So and again, it's a team game. So like, you have to have a good team around him, and it just that's how the game works. That's how football works.
Well, I mean, I want to get to some of because there's other ones that are on here that people kind of chiming in with some hot takes, or not hot takes, but bold predictions. They're supposed to be bold, by the way, so it's not too much of critiquing. I mean, like, okay, even though the golf thing, like, cool, it's bold. That's what you're supposed to do. So yeah, I love it. J Mommy says Gibbs is going to be more involved in the passing game. Not my words. I think it says mark my words, probably. Kneecap biting with the Motor City Lions. I love that name. I'm going to keep saying it. That's a legit name. St. Brown and Laporta Potty will get 1,000.
I think that might be a lock.
Rad says extra bold. Lions go undefeated. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's bold. Oh, my God. Jeff Olson, bold prediction. DJ Reader and Slim McNeil combined for 7.5 sacks.
Love that.
I think they could be more.
Yeah.
No, could you be honest? I think Aleem McNeil could get 7.
He's intentionally I
was gonna say I think Aleem could get 7.5 on his own.
Well, yeah. And Jeff Olson, I know Jeff. He's not as high on Aleem McNeil as everyone else, so that's his reason for that. Streams only Hutch for 16+.
That's right.
Tyler says my bold prediction is Terran Arnold, defensive rookie of the year and Pro Bowler. Wow, you know what? That deserves a horn. That's a bold ass prediction.
I may or may not have put in a bet for Terry on defensive rookie of the year. Maybe be locked.
Yeah, and the corners in the NFC, it's kind of weak. If you're rookie of the year, you got a strong case.
That guy up north says bold prediction: Jack Campbell will lead the team in tackles, just edging out Anzo by a few tackles.
I think it happened. I think that jump, that turnaround. I said that before.
I think Jack's your best linebacker this year. Sorry.
He was only like 30. He was like 20 or 30 behind in like 200. Dude, he was so far behind in like 100 and something less.
Keep sleeping on Anzo, Hefe. He's due. He's due.
He's been due.
Why can't they both be good? Why can't they both be
good? They can, but I just don't think that. I think Jack Campbell could have more tackles, but I still think Anzalone's a better linebacker this year.
That's fair.
It's not a knock on Jack either.
Let's see. Jesse Adams says my bold take: Aleem McNeil will make second team All Pro. Wow, you know what that is? That's a bold one. I like it.
Wow.
Reshawn says bold take: we trade Derek Barnes. We're getting the horn for that one too. I like that. I like that. I like a lot of these, man. You know what? I do. I don't hate any of these. Adam Baydoun in here. He says I'll start an OnlyFans like sketch.
Yeah, that was a time. Did you? Yeah, we weren't going to talk about
it. Wait. Sketch is
he put out a response, and the response is like, well, yeah. Shout out sketch.
Yeah, that dude, poor guy, man. He's
I'm still a Sketch fan, dude. Sketch is like one of the best people in the world.
Drake Bryant says bold prediction: Jared Goff will have 3 1,000-yard receivers and end the season with 5,000 yards.
Okay, can we address that? Can we address that?
Bro thinks he's fucking Peyton Manning in Denver or something over there. My God.
I was looking at wide receiver trios before the show when I was trying to get my bold prediction. I was looking at the one that I did, and I was trying to look at wide receiver trios that did it, and there was only like 10. There was like 10 trios ever. I don't know, like what, Jamison Williams too? I don't know.
I think it's there's not even 10. I think it's like 7 or 8, to be honest. That went for 3 1,000-yard receivers. So,
yeah, it's low. There's not a lot.
What do you want me to put up the comment, or what are we doing?
No.
Kyle, start.
Keep it moving.
Lock in, boys. Come on.
That's you, Kyle. You're an absolute sicko. But hey, That's funny. I'm sorry. That's funny as hell. All right. Let's get to some of these bold predictions on All Lions. Shout out, John. Shout out to the doc. Christian, one of the writers there on All Lions, put out his bold predictions. One of them was Aiden Hutchinson, not just 15 sacks, which, I think we're all agree there. Oh, look at Terron Arnold for his second one. Leads all rookies in interceptions. You know what? I said lead the Lions.
Let's uncover Gentry real quick.
Oh,
I miss him.
Oh, that's on me.
Oh, no.
No.
Covering up on me.
Terron leads all rookies in interceptions. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other corners that could get up there. I mean,
Jeff, if you think he leads the Lions, he's going to lead all
Mitchell.
Right?
Yeah, no, he'll probably, because I said four could lead it. So yeah, I think that's realistic. I don't think that's bad. Not bad, but I don't think that's crazy in my opinion. So I like it.
Definitely gonna beat out Nate Wiggins. I can tell you that much.
What about this one? Amon-Ra St. Brown earns MVP votes, finishes second for Offensive Player of the Year.
Well, I'm sorry, but I think that's like a Justin Jefferson, damn near 2,000-yard Tyreek Hill type of season. And I don't think. I mean, it sounds like I'm knocking Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, you're not. You're not.
There's only so many receivers in NFL history that can do that, and I just don't think he's that caliber.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Like you just said, Lucas, Tyreek finished second last year and had one of the best wide receiver seasons ever, and was just unreal. And McCaffrey still won it, so it's like.
All right, I was
Julio,
a stat
those type of
prediction
guys,
on there.
That's just different type of level.
No, he didn't. He doesn't have a stat. I wanted to see if there was a stat prediction to see where he thought he was going to take that jump to.
Yeah, he said he'll be second behind Tyreek Hill for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not that is MVP votes is insane, but second Offensive Player of the Year, I don't think that's that crazy. I mean, I've had that. I've said it on the show before that I think there's a chance in his career that he has one big massive season to where 1,1700, and you're he can be in that conversation for Offensive Player of the Year. But MVP, that's quarterback's award, man. I think that's more if I had to bet anyone on this team outside of Jared Goff to ever get MVP votes in their career, I would say that's Jahmyr Gibbs. A non-quarterback, I would say Jahmyr Gibbs at some point.
Well, the next one he writes is Jahmyr Gibbs, all 2,000 all-purpose yards.
Love it.
Which you have my attention.
Oh,
I'm listening.
A lot.
2,000 all-purpose yards.
Only one player did it last year, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, only.
I think the only way something like this would happen, in knock on wood, is if David Montgomery goes down. That would be the only way something like this would be even possible. Because I still think they split the carries somewhat relatively. I think Gibbs gets a little bit more, but you still got to keep it honest, like I've been saying. With
some
Monty.
would say,
stop.
Not with Monty's healthy. There's no way this is possible.
You're going to need 1,300. You're going to need 1,300, 1,400 rushing, about 600, 700 receiving. That's a.
I'm with you. You're whispering me sweet nothings right now, Hefe.
I just looked.
That's Offensive Player of the Year right there. I mean,
it is.
You're absolutely right. Words from the wise.
Yeah, no, I just went back and looked the last 5 years. It's happened 5 times. Only one time ever. Every single season, only one player does it. Every year, there's one player that does it, and that's it. Not more than one. It's just one player. So if Jahmyr Gibbs did that, he is the best running back in the NFL, and he's by far number 1 in the league this year. Which, hey, this offense is good.
All right.
Think about that.
You guys,
that's not going to happen. If anybody's going to do it this year, it's Breece Hall. I'll say that much.
I like that.
Yeah, because we've seen him. I mean, what did he have last year receiving? 8,700?
Something stupid.
Yeah, he was already he already had it last year with receiving. So he just needs to get the rushing, which he can do. So
600 last year, 900 and 600.
That's a lot, and Gibbs is half of that. So he'd have to really up that receiving production, which I think he'll have more. But man, that's a big year. 2,000 all-purpose yards. The next one he has is Hendon Hooker starts multiple games.
Jeff,
this is Jeff's
dream.
Just keep scrolling. Keep scrolling.
Boone's not going to want to talk about this one.
That's a bold take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like bold predictions being injuries. Yeah, I don't really like that. It's not really a fun one, if I'm being honest. Because then you're just predicting guys getting hurt, and that's not really a fun conversation. But
you got to get that off my screen. gonna just keep scrolling here. I might leave. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave the show. I'm gonna hit leave studio. All right, it's off my screen.
Yeah,
it's still on my screen again.
No, I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, I
don't want to root for that.
If Jared gets banged up, he'll start probably one game, but I don't see Jared missing more than a couple games unless it'd have to be like a significant injury. Like usually Jared still played through injury. Like I don't really see it.
The only scenario is week 18. Lions locked up the 1 seed, just beat up the 49ers. You locked the 1 seed up. I think who do we have? The Vikings week 18 or something? I don't know.
It says multiple games though, Booner. Can't play multiple games.
Like that's the only thing I can think is like last game of the season. But again, Dan Campbell typically like last year they could have done that and didn't do it because for seeding, unless it's locked up. But
might just win the job late in the year.
All right, what's the next one? I know what the next one is. Let's get to the next one.
I'm joking.
Found his rhythm.
Found his rhythm. Yeah, I'm completely kidding. I'm kidding.
This is one we can all get behind, though.
I wish I had some Kool-Aid right now. Every time I see Lions Super Bowl.
Yep. Like, I mean, come on. What are we? What are we? What?
Detroit Lions Super Bowl, the Booner Path, baby. 2024.
Yeah, hey, we can get behind that.
And there's a rumor that Miley Cyrus is going to be the halftime performer. I grew up.
Oh my!
No way.
Yeah, you were with
actually funny. Boone was singing Miley Cyrus on the golf course.
I was.
Give us something good.
No, I would take Miley Cyrus too. I grew up with Miley Cyrus too. I don't
party in the USA, Boone.
You're blazing Usher's
Playing my songs, it's gonna be okay. And while that's all happening, you got Dan Campbell. You got Dan Campbell sitting there holding up the Lombardi Trophy. You're like, let's go, baby. And the Lions are in it.
I mean, I'll take that.
I've got a vision. Klotz, I just want you to know this. I've got a vision of how the whole season's going to go out. You're talking about, remember the commercial last year when they said, hey, we got a script here. The NFL has a script. Guess who makes the script this year? Me. I'm making the script. Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. Miley Cyrus in the Super Bowl. Detroit Lions winning.
That's your go-to?
No, it's not my go-to. That's just what they announced it today. They didn't announce it, but that's the rumor. I mean, if I had to pick, you already know who I would put up there.
Who are you picking?
Jeezy? What?
See that?
What are you talking about?
Drake, to be honest.
Oh, I'll have Jeezy, dude. I love Drake. I'm a Drake fan, but give me Jeezy. By the way, the Booner Path 2024. Let's go, baby. Klotzy CPO. Let's go.
Where's the Super Bowl?
New Orleans.
NOLA. Big Easy, baby.
Well, we're gonna be if the Lions aren't there, we will be there. But if the Lions
boys,
I
there, say we don't even got to go to the game.
Go either way.
Yeah, we don't got to get tickets to the bowl. We can go to a bar down in Bourbon Street.
If the Lions are in the Super Bowl, I'm in Detroit with the people, and I'm doing a watch party. I'm running an event, and we're gonna have a live stream for the Booner Path to win a Super Bowl in Detroit. I'm gonna be in the heart of the city.
Yeah, in the heart of the city.
We'll be in the streets.
We'll be in the streets, Boone, getting content to send back to you.
I love it.
Lucas, write it down.
I'll be there.
I'm gonna book a bar here in the next couple months for every single. It's gonna be how many games is it if you win the Super Bowl? Let's say 17. Bye week for the week 1 of the playoffs. 1, 2,
It'd be 20
3.
if you had to buy.
I'm booking 20 weeks at a bar downtown Detroit. 20 games. We're booking it in the next month.
Wow. I mean,
and the Super Bowl will be booked too.
Yeah.
Booner Path 2024.
It's gonna be wild down there in New Orleans, man. We got to get down there. It's gonna be awesome.
Wild.
It's gonna be.
I can't wait for Nashville next month too, boys. It's gonna be a great time. Time.
Going to Nashville, checking out Nashville.
Will be good.
Do you guys see Joe Burrow, his proposal for like an 18-game season, how he would do it? Because people were talking about they really like it, what he said.
Yeah, I saw like 2 bye weeks or something.
Yeah, he said in an 18-game schedule, they'll do like a mid-season Pro Bowl. And it's kind of like the NBA, how the NBA has an all-star game at the middle of the season. And there's like a break, like an all-star break.
Right.
He thought of like, if you're going to add an 18-game, do Pro Bowl, kind of like a Pro Bowl break. And then you have like a 2-week break or like a week break or like a bye week before the last like 6 games of the year. He said week 13 do it. So, I mean, I honestly, I don't mind that. That's it's aligned with the NBA. NBA has a long 82-game schedule. So they break in the middle.
He basically essentially said just like a whole league break instead of bye weeks.
I think it might be another one. I don't
So
know if
two,
it's bye
like
week.
everyone
extra bye week 13.
Extra. So it'd be like a
league-wide bye
the
week,
league-wide,
and it's the Pro Bowl. That's the Pro Bowl week. Yeah,
I don't
week
hate
13.
that. I
Yeah.
don't hate that at all.
I mean,
think
it's a
that's
better
good.
it's a better idea than Josh Allen would ever thought of. I can tell you that much. And Joe Burrow doesn't miss, stays ranking higher than Josh Allen. Boone stays ranking higher.
And
Just
Jeff,
higher IQ.
I don't know if he actually said anything about the tweet because I seen the whole bye week thing, but like they need to make changes to the Pro Bowl in general to like keep it more interesting. I know they got all this bullshit, like they got like a dodgeball game and all these little games.
Klotz,
But
it's a field day, bro.
I know they need to make it serious. There's got to be some sort of incentive to it for the players to want to come out and play. Just make it interesting again, especially if you're taking a whole week and you're mid-season. You got to make it more interesting.
Yeah, like they were about to get rid of the Pro Bowl, and like the Pro Bowl was so good, in my opinion, for so long, and then all of a sudden they just got bad, and it's like it's not worth watching. I like that. I like the 2 bye weeks. 18 games, I wouldn't mind that at all. Like I know that's a lot of games, like that's a ton of games, and it changes a lot in the NFL. Like you take away a preseason game, I would rather have another regular season than these. I hate the preseason in the NFL. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. Like
they just need to do like
preseason games,
one or two,
just so you can get like that bottom the
game.
Well, just so you can get like an idea of how some of these bad players, not bad players, but lower level players play, so you know who can make the team. Like, yeah, I think that's fine. But like, I would rather have more competitive games than have like 3 of those, like 3 preseason games is just like you don't need that at all. You need 1 and then you're good.
I get that. I mean, because you brought it up already, but the point is like there's some guys that are fighting to make a roster. There's good players that are discovered through the preseason that would never have been discovered.
Yeah.
So it helps a lot of guys, and it helps play your starters for a little bit, get those guys in game action for the actual season.
3's not doing much though. Like by game 1, like like to our point, like we went to the preseason last year. Like game 1, like you're like, all right, now we have an idea. Like, and I'm sure Dan and them, like you've been going through training camp for a month with these guys, and then it's like, all right, let's see how some of these guys perform on the field. Like come game 1, like all right, now we know who can play and who can't, and you probably have a decision. And maybe there's a couple guys that you're sitting and waiting on, but I'm sure after 1, like if they moved it to 2. I think what is it at 3 total now? Right now,
mm-hmm.
If you moved it to 2. All right, if you have one question on another guy, game 2 you can figure that out, and then you're on to the season. But like 3 is just excessive. They used to do 4. Like that's crazy.
Way too
yeah, I saw. I see. I mean, some of these. I see some of the comments here. I mean, even Ryan's comment, Kerry Hyder. That's another player. Tion Green. There's players that that. Because of how the NFL was set. At 3, maybe a little too much. I get that. Maybe cut out a game, but you at least need some preseason action, in my opinion.
Wait a second. Did we not get to Booner's question?
We can do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. We need a whole segment for it.
Yeah, it's a good. Okay, we'll save it.
Yeah, I don't want to. I want to make sure we get all the juice out of it.
Yeah, no, we'll do that. We got plenty of time. We'll get to mailbag. Bonjay, we'll start with that one. Did you announce the jersey winner?
Oh no, we need to do that. We'll do that. The contest runs through today, so I'll by the end of the night, midnight. Whoever enters by midnight. So if you haven't yet, make sure if you're watching right now, we have 114 people. We're running a jersey giveaway contest. And if you're here for the winner, we're running it. Go right now to our Twitter or Instagram. You can retweet it, like it, follow and subscribe. And it's the same thing on Instagram. You just tag a friend, share it to your story, and subscribe to the channel here, and you'll be entered in. And I'll get a winner at midnight tonight, and I'll first thing tomorrow on the show, we'll throw the winner out there.
And then I'll order that jersey and send it out to whoever wins.
We'll get it out right away.
We'll get it cracking. Next question. Rishon says, Mailbag, anything you're still looking for from the free agent market? I mean, we've went through it, guys. I think we all kind of agree. Bring in some bodies for training camp.
Yeah.
At this point.
I don't think there's any like crazy players. Yeah, I don't think there's anyone like crazy that's gonna like change your team as a whole.
No one's moving the needle.
Yeah, it's just depth. Like if someone goes down or you need some depth, I think it's just depth. I would rather go out and trade for like a Matthew Judon or something, or like a receiver. Go trade for actually, is Klotz in here? I don't know if his Wi-Fi is good. I was with my friend earlier this weekend from Indianapolis. his dad, shout out Randy Dixon, played for the Indianapolis Colts back in the day. His quarterback in college, Dan Marino. But he was telling me, he said that, and I know I kind of pushed back to Klotz a little bit about Alec Pierce. He said that in Indy, that's a thought for people, is they brought in A.D. Mitchell, and they're like, Alec Pierce can be a trade asset now. So maybe that's someone that they can bring in.
Before we move to the next question, do you got to do that on both IG and Twitter? We got a couple.
Just one or the other. One or the other. I mean, if you do both, if you do both, you have that would be sick. You follow us on both, and so you have a better chance.
I had to ask for the boys.
Yeah, no, I respect it. Well, Jesse says, Mailbag, here's a bold take. Bet I want to do for fun. Lions, Chiefs, Eagles, Rams, Colts, all to win their division. It's plus 12,547, $25 to win $3,000.
I don't think I see it. This is where I go.
Rams, man. That's a tough one. The Colts, even though I don't like that one, and me and Jeff picked against it, that's probably more likely than the Rams, even though the Rams are so, they are a better team. But
the 49ers, dude.
The 49ers, that's a tough one to bet against.
Did you guys see too, by the way? Did you guys see Brandon Ayuk posted on his TikTok or something? It was a picture of him watching film of the Washington Commanders practice. Like he had access, dude. He had access to their practice film and is watching their training, their mini camp stuff. And it's a legit login for the film.
Is that even friends with a couple of players on that team?
He's he played with Jaden Daniels at Arizona State.
Exactly.
Is that even legal?
Did it to troll.
I don't know, but that's been something that's been going on for weeks now. Is remember they posted the video together, the FaceTime video. They've had a couple pictures they posted together that they've been together, and now he's been very clear he wants to go to Washington, and now he posted a picture of him watching literally their practice film. It's how do they do they just give it to him?
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know if he's allowed to give it.
Tom hit it on the head. This guy's.
I will say if they trade Ayuk, I like the Rams even more.
Yeah, I like the Commanders. If they get Ayuk, that's 7 or 8 wins for the Commanders. I think makes it look a little bit better for me if they get a Brandon Ayuk. Him and Terry McLaurin.
Ryan says, Mailbag, do you think we'll be as close as we were last year to 4 people with 1,000 yards? Well, Booner, you said 2,000-yard receivers, 2,000-yard running backs is your bold prediction. You're bold.
Yep. It was close. I mean, we were probably a total of 55, 100. What's 111 plus 55? Whatever that is.
111 plus 55. It's 166.
Or 166 yards last year from doing it. So I wouldn't be shocked if it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. First time ever, I think, too.
And also, real quick, too, Cam Sutton got suspended today. 8 games.
Yeah.
He's out 8 games with the Steelers. He signed a 1-year deal with. I think, right? It was a 1 year.
It was a 1-year deal. Yep.
Yeah. He's out 8 games for them. So I don't know how that works with the Lions. I'm not sure we really know at this point because he's got guaranteed money and now he's suspended. Yeah. I don't know how that works. So we're gonna ask Jeremy that tomorrow when we have him on.
So I could pull this up real quick. Honolulu Blues, shout out. They tweeted something out that made me think about it. Let me read their tweet real quick. So they tweeted out today when that happened and said, there has been no official word if Cam Sutton's entire contract, the $10.5 million, would be voided. But per the most recent cap update, the Lions have recouped $4.2 million of it. So my guess is, though that 8 games, this year, the dead cap and everything you were supposed to pay, I'm guessing since he was suspended 8 games, though that guaranteed money for 8 games gets taken away. So the Lions, don't have to pay for 8 weeks, which those contracts. So maybe you end up kind of only having to pay for $6 million instead of 10.
Right.
I'm interested to hear about that.
Raise the sales. Yes, it was for prior. It was the incident that transpired when he was part of the Lions. And he said, why would they pick him up knowing he's going to miss most of the season? Sometimes that happens too. Like a 1-year deal, they can get him for the last half of the season. They get him for.
Well, they get him super cheap.
I don't even know if it's worth the headache. Obviously, in Brad Holmes' eyes, it wasn't. I mean, miss 8 games and you got to. I don't know.
I think you get him cheap. You missed the 8 games, but to the Steelers, I think they're going to make the playoffs. Have him for the playoffs. He's already been under Mike Tomlin. Yeah, but he was in Pittsburgh when Mike.
Yeah, they're familiar with. I'm sure the Lions just didn't want him a part of their culture right now.
If it was a random team, then I would be like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, I like the Lions did a hell of a job with their secondary post Cam Sutton. You don't need them now, so they're fine. Jesse Adams says get some cash right before the trade deadline too. Yeah. No, we do not play the Steelers.
Preseason. I'm sure Cam Sutton will play in that game at Ford Field too.
Ooh.
Really?
If he's suspended 8 games, remember JMO was suspended and he played in the preseason.
He was also young.
Different scenario.
Needed those reps kind of thing. I don't know. They'll throw Cam out there
I wouldn't be shocked. Hey, we need to get this guy some run. He's not going to have run. He's not going to have run for 8 weeks.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't see it. I don't hate it.
Steve Lehman.
Mailbag.
Did you see Rodrigo
traded? He just got married, by the way. So shout out to Rodrigo. He just had his wedding and stuff like that. So in the offseason, he went to Mexico. So congratulations to him. And good luck in Chicago. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I don't know. I don't think. I don't think he's getting. I don't think he's getting traded this year. No, I don't think he's getting traded.
I hope not. I like him. Obviously, his role is kind of diminishing, but when he stepped up his rookie year, and he's been a good team guy, and he fits our culture. So I hope not. Obviously, his role isn't going to be as big, but I hope we can keep him.
He's a good depth piece. Like if there's an injury and he had to play some snaps, like Barnes goes down, I would be cool with Rodrigo playing.
Yeah. He had so many snaps his rookie year, and he like valuable too, to where he actually produced, to where it's like if someone goes down, him having your depth chart now, Anzo, Jack Campbell, and then Derek Barnes and Rodrigo. I think that's a great linebacking room. And he's special teams. Yeah, like you guys said, he's special teams. Fullback as well.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, he had an interception in the NFC Championship game. Ryan put it in there. Him and Derek Barnes, or did Derek Barnes? No, Derek Barnes was versus the Bucks.
Yeah, he picked off to seal the game. That was his.
All right. The other Jeff Merrill says, why do you think Amik isn't CB2 to start the year?
Jeff, you want to go?
Well, I will say this: at this point in time, we don't know anything. But my thoughts on it, Jeff, because training camp's going to determine a lot of that to see how ready he is. I would say that Terrion, I think, is just more physically gifted. Doesn't mean that Amik can't beat him out. Certainly can happen because he's a rookie. But I think given his ability, size, everything, what he brings to the table, he's just someone you have to put out there. Carlton, we're assuming, is going to be your number one corner. Yep. So that's why I don't think he's CB2 to start the season. Maybe he plays in the slot. Maybe he's still going to play snaps. But no, I would lean Terran Arnold. I mean, he's how talented he is. I just think he has to be out there day one. I mean, you got to get him reps immediately. Unless he just loses out in training camp, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah, what's more dead, the Pistons or Drake?
Oh, no.
Trick question, Jeff.
I would say the Pistons are more dead than Drake. I would say that. Yeah.
That second question: what's more likely, Arnold over 4.5 picks or James Houston over 7.5 sacks? I don't know. We've seen James Houston do it in 4.5. It's pretty high number.
Over 7.5 sacks.
I would lean James Houston, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sacks got to come from somewhere, man. You need James Houston to do something. I mean.
And we're all not too high on Davenport. And if those guys are rotating, him and James Houston, maybe James Houston gets back to his old ways, full training camp healthy.
I think Terrion, I said he'll lead the Lions in interceptions. I said with 4. I mean, maybe 5's not too bad. Maybe I should lean Arnold for that. Yeah, you know what? More likely, I would lean Houston, but I think they're both not bad. They're both doable. I
think so too.
Just because Davenport, if he goes down, Houston's your guy. He's going to be playing a lot. I
still think even with Davenport, I think Houston's going to end up getting some run.
I agree.
A good amount too.
I do agree with that. Let's see, Steve Lehman, Mailbag. Do you think AG will have players playing out of position like Houston did last year before the injury? Hopefully not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It depends. I mean,
injuries too.
Guys they have more depth now at different positions. So
oh my gosh.
So what?
Ooh. Oh yeah.
Vegas has the Detroit Pistons at 28.5.
I did see that earlier.
I'm gonna wait to see until they finish up their offseason to even make a statement on my prediction.
There ain't gonna be much left, Boone. You're probably gonna add a play.
They still have $20 million. They have $20 million. I want to see what happens. Let me wait.
What are you gonna add? I mean, in free agency, that's gonna sway your opinion.
Trades.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess.
If they make another move, I'm gonna wait.
I would say under. I think they get like 26, 27, maybe 25. Like
that's my initial thought is the under, but I want to wait and see.
I think they get close, but I don't think they get 30. That would be I mean, hell, that'd be an impressive.
Oh, for sure.
Over double. Like Jesse says, Jeff will take the over like a prick. Oh, that's funny. All right, we'll get out of here, man. We appreciate you guys so much. By the way, I'll be out
Thursday, Friday.
Yeah,
right?
Thursday, Friday. Yep, I'll be out Thursday, Friday. The boys are going to hold it down. I'm going up to, I believe it's Glenville, Michigan.
Take that vacation.
Yeah, a little. It's an up north trip. We got a little house on the little Airbnb on the lake. So I'll be up there, hanging out, chilling, checking in with the boys.
Put some sunscreen on your head.
The show. Yeah, sunscreen on. That's the problem here. You know, got short hair, so now it's actually possible to be sunburned on your head. I didn't know that. I've had long hair, never got sunburned. But until tomorrow, Jeremy Rising.
The like button for the boys.
Jeremy Rising will be joining the show, so please tune in tomorrow. It's going to be a very, very good show. Until then, take care, everybody. Like the video, subscribe, tell a friend to subscribe. Until tomorrow, stay blessed out there. We'll see
you guys.